foundations, understanding your why, helped you on the business plan. We then have talked about the lead generation, how to generate leads, and the whole point of that is to set appointments, right? Then we've talked about the listing presentation, we talked about, Jason covered the time management of how to keep track of if you're being productive with your time. And then what we're gonna go through today is we're gonna go through and talk about, okay, now that I've got an appointment, what do I do with it? And specifically with a buyer, how do I go about doing it? And so where I wanna start with on this is top 3 complaints about real estate agents. What do you think they are? What do you think the top 3 complaints that people have about real estate agents are? Any guesses?
Don't stay in good contact with them, don't keep
Okay,
them
close.
updated.
Close. The first one is that we don't return calls.
Yeah, that's kind of a long one.
Kind of the same concept. So first is that we don't return calls. Number 2, any guesses? That we don't listen.
Yeah.
Number 3 is that we waste their time. Those are the top 3 complaints about real estate agents. 1, we don't return calls. 2 is that we don't listen. And 3 is that we waste their time, which typically when I teach this, if we were to have agents who have been in the business for a while, would say, usually what will happen, if I've got agents who have been 4, 5, 6, 10 years, whatever, in here in this class, and I say that their complaint is that we waste their time, usually the agents will laugh and be like, they waste my time? No, they're wasting, sorry, said that
They
right.
both feel the same way.
Yeah, agents usually feel like, no, the clients waste our time. And so what we're gonna talk about today is why. Why is it that the consumer feels like, well, first, just the don't return calls is just, we're not gonna talk about that today other than just call people back. As long as you call people back, then there will be no problem, but.
Easy enough.
What's that?
Easy enough.
Yeah,
I mean, these people are gonna pay you like a lot of money, like,
correct.
you know what I mean? Like, think about the amount of money that they're going to pay you, like, can't
Yeah.
just sit around and like do, like, I'd be pissed too, dude.
Yeah,
If
if you-
somebody, like,
yeah,
money
you should, like,
and they
you're
weren't
right.
returning calls or doing what I asked them to do, like, I'm your client, like,
That's
you're
right.
supposed to do what I tell you to do. If you don't like it, we can mutually rescind something, but you do what I tell you to do, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, they're paying you a lot of money to
It's
do
a lot of
that.
money.
Yep,
It
for
is a
sure.
lot of money.
So that one, return calls. Next then is why do they have the experience that we don't listen and that we waste their time? So there is a saying in real estate, which you may or may not have heard yet, but it goes like this: buyers are liars. And have you heard that before?
I have not.
Okay, so buyers are liars. That is a term you're going to hear. Now, it's not true. Just, I wanna make sure that's not true. Buyers are not liars, but we're gonna go through and talk about today why that is that agents say that buyers are liars. And part of the challenge of why we say buyers are liars is because we don't listen to them at the level that we should listen to them. So we listen, but the problem is in real estate, the challenge is, and this is actually even outside of real estate, just people in general, they tend to communicate one thing when they actually mean something else. So part of where this comes from, this idea of the clients feel like we don't listen and that we waste their time, is because they communicate one thing to us, but they actually mean something different than what they are communicating. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. But then, so that's the first piece. So, in fact, let me show you what that looks like. I just wanna see if, let me see if we have anyone on Zoom. No? I kind of feel like Taylor would have said she was, did she tell you guys she wasn't gonna be here or anything? Did she say anything?
No, I thought she made it sound, I thought yesterday, 'cause
Yeah,
you were
I
like, don't miss it, and she was like, oh.
I know, so I feel a little bit bad because we're gonna jump
She
into,
could be just running a little late.
oh, hang on. I think she actually might be getting out of her car right now.
Seriously. Give her a
I
second.
think it is, so.
Nice.
Which is
I would-
open the window, start cheering her up.
I know.
Come on, you can do it.
Start pounding.
Come on,
Come on.
get to the elevator, we know you can do it.
I think it's her. So, all right, well, we'll kind of, I'll stall for a second on that. Let's see, what can I teach you about real quick until she gets here?
We're gonna do something?
What about
That's what I
categories?
was thinking.
Like categories of like SOI, like
We're gonna do that this afternoon.
Carrie just had basically an SOI drop in her lap because of her past, because of what she's built. And that's like a different category of SOI versus just like calling somebody and letting them know, and giving them neighborhood news. This is somebody you've actually has seen you perform, liked the way you perform, and just simply came back to you.
Yep.
Those are dropping the lappers.
And yeah, I'm gonna teach you this afternoon how to get that. This
I
afternoon.
want
I'm
dropping the
actually-
lappers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I was like going through my contacts and like categorizing my SOI and I'm like, Kenny, half of these are out of this country, so let's exclude them.
Yeah, maybe those ones.
Yeah, the ones in Brazil you probably
Like
aren't.
the plus 5 I might need to block for this one, and then I'm like going through it, like that's my gouge, maybe not that one.
The thing is, I think most of mine are gonna, like, my Google's probably gonna transfer mainly like phone numbers. Cause I don't have a ton of like actual contacts in my email as like contacts. And I don't know if Google like links those somehow. I don't think they know what their
No.
email is.
No,
So,
no,
like,
no, no.
I'm gonna mainly end up having phone numbers.
That's okay.
So how do I work with that?
I'm gonna tell you this afternoon.
You know what?
You keep asking stuff for this
I know,
afternoon,
I'm
yeah.
jumping the gun, man, I'm jumping the gun.
So let me try to think real quick. She should be up here pretty quick as I saw.
Hey,
She-
yeah, shit.
It was funny because I was just starting and I was like, oh, I feel bad because I'm about to get into stuff and I feel bad if Taylor's not here yet. And then I walked over like this and I was like, oh, she's getting out of the car right now, perfect. So we stalled for
Sorry
you.
about that.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
We stalled for you so that you could be here, so. Okay, so here's what we've talked about so far, is the top 3 complaints about real estate agents is that we don't return calls, that we don't listen, and that we waste their time. And then the other thing that we had just talked about is there is a saying in real estate, and Taylor, I don't know if you've heard it or not yet, but that buyers are liars. Have you heard that yet? Okay, you're going to hear that. You're gonna hear agents in the office say buyers are liars and sellers are storytellers or some version of that, but buyers are liars. And I wanna make sure that I really am clear on this, that is not true. That it is not true that buyers are liars. The challenge is that the buyers communicate one thing, but they actually mean something else. And all of us do this. We all do this in our communication, is we communicate one thing, but we actually mean something different than that. And what happens is this, here's why that is I feel like my job in life is to get rid of pens.
Nice job.
Thanks.
You left-handed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say that was even a left-handed.
I should have said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
So the way that your brain works, 10% of who you are as a personality is conscious. 90% of who you are is unconscious, okay? So what happens is this, is in your brain, 10% is conscious, 90% is unconscious. Well, at the conscious level, the way that we communicate with people is at a conscious level. And so we communicate at this conscious 10% level, and in that area, the conscious level is where things are rational, things are reasonable, things are logical, okay? So the way that we communicate is at this conscious level. But the way that people buy, and specifically a house we're gonna talk about, but in general, just the way they buy. But for buying a house, let me just ask you guys, is it a logical purchase or is it an emotional purchase?
I think it's more, it should be more logical, but it's more emotional.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, somewhat both ways, but more so than not, it's more emotional is how we do it. Meaning,
It's like buying a car. When you go get excited, you're so excited about the car, you're like skipping over what the financial parts are going to be.
correct.
It's kind of the same concept.
Concept, yep. And so What happens though is something you're gonna hear from people as you work with clients, specifically buyers, you're gonna hear them say, I don't know how to explain what it is that I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. So what they're saying when they, did you say that or something? Did you say that? Is that why you're laughing?
Yeah, my realtor was asking me and my husband, like, what are we looking for? And I'm like, a roof.
Roof over us?
Yeah, that's a perfect example. And so thank you for bringing that up, because that's what's going on. Is what they're saying is, I'll know it when I see it, but I don't know how to explain it to you. The reason they don't know how to explain it to you is because it's down here in the unconscious part of the brain, but the way that we communicate with people as it is at a conscious level where things are reasonable, rational, and logical. So here's what happens, is down here in the unconscious is what they're wanting to purchase. But they don't know how to communicate that in a way that's reasonable, logical, rational. So what happens is they do the best that they can, and we, as their agent, 10% of who we are is conscious and 90% is unconscious. Okay? So part of what I mean by this unconscious part of who we are is there used to be, like years and years ago, on TV, there was a commercial that they would do here in Utah, and maybe they did in other parts of the country, but I just remember it here in Utah, where they had this program that they called Success by Six. And the idea of that Success by Six is, as kids are growing, all the wiring in their brain is coming together. And so the idea is, we are making a lot of decisions as kids about how life is and operates. And so another example of this, though, of how we operate in this unconscious level 90% of the time is, I'm guessing with all three of you getting in the car and driving here today, you were not really focused on everything on the road, meaning like you probably had some music playing or a podcast or something you were listening to. You might have been thinking about this or that. And everybody, every time I've asked this, everybody has had the experience of getting in a car with somebody, having a great conversation while you drove somewhere, and then you get there and you have no recollection of the drive. So how did you get there? How did you not kill yourself or somebody else?
You've done it so many times, your brain has
That's right.
wired you to just do it.
That's right. The unconscious part of your brain takes over and you just goes and does it. So 90% of who we are is unconscious. Only 10% is conscious. So here's what happens is somebody decides they want to buy a house. They don't know how to explain what it is that they're looking for. They'll just, it has to have a roof. I don't know. Like, we got to go see stuff and then we'll figure it out, right? Well, what's going on is that's because you're going to purchase from this unconscious level. But when an agent asks, okay, what are you looking for in a home? We kind of have to come up with our best that we can, which is then we would say a roof. So, but here's what happens. They say 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage. Like, if that's how we purchase, really, somebody's saying, I want 4 bedrooms, I want 3 baths, I want a 3-car garage, and on a 1/4 acre lot. If that's really the way that we purchased, you would just be like, okay, go in on the MLS, print it out, and be like, okay, which one's the best price? Go buy it.
Which one meets your criteria exactly? Like, you're right. You just have to come up. Good people just come up with something because they're getting put to they're putting feet to the fire. Like, what do you want? And it's like, you're kind of saying what you want, but you don't. I would just give a range at that point. Like.
Well, so we're gonna get to there. We'll show you. So that's what happens. So now remember, what I'm answering for you is, why do people have the experience that we don't listen and we waste their time? Well, the reason is because, they show, in fact, let's do it this way. You're my real estate agent, okay? And you've set an appointment with me. I now show up to the office. We're gonna sit down and figure out, you're gonna be my agent, you're gonna help me figure out, or I'm gonna help you, whichever way you wanna look at it, figure out what I wanna buy in a home. So what questions would you ask, and I probably should have had you do this first before we even did any of this. What questions, well, let's do it this way. Do you remember what questions your agent asked you?
No, but I do remember, my mom, cause my mom is the list queen, so she's like, hey, priority list, what do you need, like, that kind of stuff, so that's how we ended up on, we need a 2-car garage, a driveway that fits at least 1 car, cause we were looking at, townhomes that have no driveway, she's just like, hey, you really need a driveway. My husband has a lot of bikes, so that's why we needed more space for that. Yeah, my mom was just like a priority of like, okay, where you are right now, what do you not like about it? What are you lacking where you are? And how do you think your house is going to like fulfill that lack? I don't know if that's a good way to put it. But, and then make a priority list, cause my mom was like, hey, your budget is tight. So she's like, okay, make a priority list, things that you're non-negotiable, things that you would live without until you're able to, afford something better, and then go from there, and then that's how you filter through the properties. But it was more like me and my mom with my husband doing it than with the realtor. Cause with the realtor,
Because
she
with
just
Oh, go ahead.
she just went more off of our budget, cause we didn't give her anything and then talked to my mom and then we went through.
Perfect. You're nailing exactly this is part of why, like, back to what Ronnie said, they're paying us a lot of money, yet it's your mom that really helped you figure it out, not the agent. Like, isn't that a little ironic to me? But so part of what goes on is the way, if I did a search on the MLS, the way I do the search on the MLS is what price range, how many beds, how many baths, how many square feet, like we put in all of these, and we'll come back to this in a second, so I'm gonna put it over here, but we go through all of these features, okay? Is we have to go through and look at features on the MLS, and so that's what we plug in to try to go do it. But again, coming back to what I'm talking about, if that is really how people bought, was logical like that, we would just throw it in and be like, okay, here's your choices, go buy one. And really, to some extent, you wouldn't even have, like, it really would be, well, which is the cheapest of all the properties that have 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3-car garage on a 1/4 acre lot? You'd just be like, well, which one's the cheapest? And I would go buy it. But that's not the way that it works. So, I didn't give my example. So here, let's use this as the example. So you guys are my agent, I come in and sit down with you. This is what I tell you that I wanna buy in a home, okay? Is I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights.
See, that's exactly where I was gonna go. I would go to location and like size of family and needs first, so like schools, location that you would like to be around. And then I would start to go narrow it to key features of the home.
Okay,
So like I would go there, that's what I would do first, location, possibly schools for children and family.
Okay.
Cause those are needs you're gonna have to have, so I would find those locations, then I would go into key features of the home.
okay, perfect. I love that you're saying that. I'm gonna come back to that too. So I'm gonna write this down so I don't forget. Okay. But, so I sit down with you guys and you ask me what I'm looking for in a home and I say, I wanna buy a home on a hill with a view of the city lights. So now, what would you then go and show me? Like, you don't have to tell me, like, I'm not looking for like exact locations, but in general, what are you gonna show me?
On a hill.
Yeah.
You're gonna go find houses high on a hill with a view of the city lights, right? Anybody not gonna do that? If that's what I said I wanted? Okay. Now, so here's what happens then. So we go out, now remember, they have this experience that we don't listen, okay? So, I tell you about homes high on a hill with a view of the city lights. You're gonna go to the MLS, you're gonna go do a search for homes high on a hill with a view of the city lights, right? You figure that out, you find some properties and you call me and say, okay, let's go look at houses. So I go, okay, great. We get in the car and we go drive to look at these homes high on a hill with a view of the city lights. Now, when we get there, actually, let me even back up before I do that part of it. So let me ask you this question. And answer this for you, not for me, okay? But what would your assumption be about why I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights? And so I want to hear from everybody, so including Justin, who's on, if he's really there.
I'm really here.
So, you guys tell me, why would somebody want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights? What do you think the reason they would want it would be? And there's not a right answer, by the way, just, it's whatever you think of, tell me, is the right answer, so.
They want a view.
Yeah, who doesn't like a view? It's hard to go around.
Okay, so, but what would be, okay, so that's fine, okay, good, so just the view, okay?
High on a hill, I would assume further from the city.
Okay, further away from the city, okay, that's fine,
Well, they like the mountains, they like to hike a lot, bike a lot.
like, okay. But
Close to me.
for you, what would you, like, for a minute, think about why you would want it. Why would you want it? And if you don't want it, then make it up, but,
I make a lot of money now and I'm a boss, I wanna be high on the hill.
okay,
Beautiful, you can see beautiful sunsets.
okay,
It's nice to look at.
okay,
They want to get out of the bad air.
okay,
That's a good one.
You know, get close enough to the city that you can see it and go far enough away that you don't have to live in it.
okay, good. So now, with those ideas in mind, we're now gonna go look at properties, okay? So we jump in a car, we go drive up and get to the first house. As we walk through the house, if your assumption is that I want the home high on the hill with a view of the city lights, based on whatever it was you guys said, what would you then talk about as we like walk through the house or out on the back porch or whatever?
Just that. We talk about, you know, all the quality of air is better up here. We talk about, look how beautiful this is, or
It's a high enough view for you.
Okay? So notice that, notice what happens. So now let me bring this over to here, okay? Remember, what I'm helping you guys understand is why do people get frustrated with their agent and feel like they don't listen and that they waste their time? They have a reason they wanna buy it, they don't know how to communicate it, so they do the best that they can by saying, I want a home high on the hill with a view of the city lights. You go find a home high on the hill with a view of the city lights, but then here's what happens is, we hear what it is that they want, and then we assume that what they're saying at the conscious level, the whether it's the air, the view, the prestige, the health, the being able to go hike, whatever, we assume that that's why they want it. So let me say this a little bit differently. I'll come back and tie this, but let me say this a little differently. Is it okay if they buy the house they want, not the one you think they should buy? Yeah, every time I ask that question, yeah, people are like, well, yeah, of course.
Wouldn't you be asking for more, like if they said, I just want one with a view, wouldn't you be digging further though? And like, wouldn't you be like, well, okay, what else?
Sure.
Like, then you could narrow it down before you even start showing them how.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, I'm shorthanding it a little bit here.
Right, just for your example.
Yeah, for the example.
Yeah.
But here's what happens though, this is where they get the idea that you don't listen and you waste their time, is because most agents don't dig deeper in terms of what I'm talking about here, of getting to this unconscious level. The way that most agents approach it is they approach it from the standpoint of the conscious level. How many bedrooms, how many baths, how many square feet, blah, blah, blah. Even if they do dig deeper, like to eliminate the number of properties, the way that most agents go about doing it is we sit down on the MLS with them. Like if you walk through the office during the day and somebody's in one of the conference rooms with a client, you will observe what I'm talking about. Is they will sit down there and they'll have pulled up on the computer the MLS, and then they'll put in their price range, they'll put in the city that they're interested in or the area, whatever that they're interested in, the number of bedrooms, baths, the style of home, all that kind of stuff, and then boom, it populates 100 houses. So they go, okay, well, we probably don't want to go look at 100 houses, so what else should we put in to narrow that down? And then that's when people will say, I don't know, hot tub or something, whatever. They're gonna put in these other features, is how they continue to do this on the MLS, trying to narrow it down. Then we go jump in the car and we go out and look at properties. When we're out looking at properties, which by the way, when you're out showing properties, just be quiet. Like agents feel like they have to be there to be like, to walk in and be like, this is the kitchen.
So, hey, see this? It's like, just let them check it out.
Yeah, they know when you walk in and go, this is the kitchen, like they know it's the kitchen. You don't need to tell them it's the kitchen. So your best thing when you're showing houses is really just be quiet. Now, with that being said, if you have done what I'm gonna teach you guys to do today, you can then actually interact better. But if somebody who hasn't been trained in what I'm gonna train you guys in today, they're better off to show a house, just be quiet. Don't say a thing. Just let the people walk through and listen to what they're saying. But because here's what typically happens, is they have why they want it, they communicate it to you at the conscious level, you hear it at the conscious level, but then interpret it at the level of what that would mean to you, why you would want it. Then we go out and show properties and we talk to them about why we would want to buy that house. And then what happens is they get frustrated because they're thinking, this agent doesn't understand me, they aren't listening, they're showing me properties that aren't really what I want. Now, I'm explaining this at the extreme, obviously, I mean, because if it really worked the way I'm talking about right now, nobody would ever buy a house because, they would get frustrated. But typically what happens though, is what we are wanting to create is something like this. So the reason, I didn't finish my example. Man, I am all over the place today. I'm sorry, I will dial this in, I promise. Okay, so you go out and show me properties. I don't like any of the properties for whatever reason. I tell you different, blah, blah, blah. So you're then gonna ask me a few questions typically to try to go, okay, well that didn't work, so what do I need to do differently? Because maybe they didn't like this area, they really want this area that's high on the hill or whatever. So you continue to go find homes high on a hill with a view of the city lights. I don't buy, I don't buy, I don't buy, I don't buy. You keep showing me houses, I don't buy, I don't buy. You keep showing me houses, I still don't buy. You start to get frustrated because why are they not buying? I'm showing them everything they said that they wanted, but they're still not buying. Then I call you one day and I go, hey, I found the perfect property. Do you want the address, do you want the MLS number, what do you want? And you say, I don't know, either one, give me. So I give you the MLS number. You go on the MLS, you plug it in, the home pops up, and it's in a canyon surrounded by nothing but trees. What's your first thought gonna be when I've been telling you I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, and now I call you and go, I wanna go look at a home that's in a canyon surrounded by nothing but trees?
Well, it's certainly high on a hill with city lights.
No, you only have trees.
Yeah.
There's only trees.
Oh, so there's no city lights now?
I cannot see any
Okay,
city
so
lights,
you're just seeing
surrounded
trees.
by trees,
Okay, yeah, that's different.
in a canyon.
Gotcha.
Maybe they just wanted to be closer to nature with a good view.
Wanted privacy.
Okay.
Privacy.
Good, you're starting to figure this out, so good. So initially though, remember I said people will say buyers are liars? This is where it comes from, is a client shows up, says, I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights. You go show them, they don't buy. Then all of a sudden they see one in a canyon surrounded by nothing but trees. You go show it to them and they go, this is it, this is the perfect place, I wanna buy it, let's write an offer. Then you come back to the office and you go to an agent and you go, okay, buyers are liars. Like they told me they wanted a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights. You should see the house that they bought. It is in a canyon surrounded by nothing but trees. You can't see anything but trees. So that's where this.
How is there not a conversation somewhere in the middle there of like showing, and how was there not a conversation of narrowing that down in there? Like, how did you get to the point of like just continuing to show? I don't understand that. Without asking, where was the discussion?
Well, so part of it is because agents have not been trained how to communicate, is part of the issue. Now, the way you and I have been trained to communicate is not the way that people buy. You and I have been trained to communicate at this level up here, not at this level. And we have to get down there. So yes, what you're saying is right, somewhat. But like I said, I'm being a little bit extreme on my example, but it happens all the time. Like, I promise you, you are gonna hear agents in this office say buyers are liars. And the truth is, remember I told you guys on the first day, power comes out of telling the truth? If we tell the truth is we did not communicate very well is really what the problem is. So it's not the buyers are liars, it's they showed up telling us in the best way they knew how what they wanted. Now, so remember over here, I said they show up and talk about features, And the way we do searches on the MLS is by features, but that's not the way people buy. People don't buy features, they buy benefits. It's the benefit they're buying. So Taylor brought up already, what did you say that their reason for wanting that probably was?
Privacy.
Privacy, see, that's the benefit. Now, so let me ask you this question. If somebody showed up, if what somebody wanted was privacy, and they show up and tell you, I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, would that give them privacy? Potentially. Like, it depends on the property, right? But that's what I want to make sure you guys understand. See, sometimes when people show up, they're showing up the way Anna was talking about, like, we want a roof? I don't know what to tell you. Like, what they're doing is they have some benefits that they're looking for in a property, but they don't know how to communicate what those are to you in a way that you could do a search on the MLS. So because of that, and really, again, the problem really is us as agents, it's not them. It's because we know we're gonna have to get on the MLS and do a search, and there's not a place on there to do a search for privacy. Like, or there's 15 benefit words, which I'll give to you in a little bit, but there's 15 benefit words that essentially anybody that is looking to buy something is looking to meet one of those 15 benefits. But they aren't gonna show up, they don't typically know at a conscious level, they know at an unconscious level, but they don't know at a conscious level what exactly it is that they don't know how to explain to you the benefit they're looking for. So they do it the best way they know how, which is at the conscious level. So they show up saying, I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, and typically the reason they're saying it that way is because they one time were in a property that met those needs, meaning they may not have lived there, but they might have gone and visited one or saw one on TV or something that they were like, oh, that would have been perfect. And so they therefore then associate that as to what it is they want, when it's not the feature. Like, I am really trying to drive this point home, so hopefully it is not the feature that they want. But as much as I tell you that right now, you're still gonna have a little bit of a struggle thinking it's the feature that they want. But it's not the feature, it's the benefit that that feature provides. Does that make sense? Okay, so they're going to, in fact, this is the way I will tell it to you, is people are looking for 2 to 3 benefits. For them, whatever they're gonna buy in a property is going to meet 2 to 3 of these benefits. So really, that's what people are looking for when they're going to buy, is they have 2 or 3 benefits. So now let me help you with that as you were explaining, Anna, about your mom saying that, I'm like, your mom sounds like she would be a great real estate agent.
She's gonna do real estate school too.
Is she? Okay, well, good. She's gonna love this, because part of what she did with you of saying, okay, what is it in the property that you have now that you like? What are those features? But she's saying in terms of features. So what are the features that you like in the home, and what are the way, she didn't say it this way, but what are the things that are missing? What she was saying is, which of these benefits over here are not being met in the property that you're in now? Now, unfortunately, we can't do it that way. It's not like we could sit down with a client and show them the 15 benefit words and go, okay, which ones of these benefits are being met for you and which ones are not? Because not always do people relate to, I'm gonna give you the 15 benefit words, and they may not necessarily relate to the exact word, meaning they may talk around it, but they may not actually say it. So like, if you put the list in front of them, what would happen is they'd be like, I mean, I guess this or that. Like, it wouldn't work that way. This is a process, okay? And now here's what it looks like. So the reason that happens is, remember I said here, they know, they have in the unconscious what it is that they want. Well, here's what happens, is the way that your brain works is like a computer, like I said, but when your brain, which, by the way, I always love to, at this point in the training, point out that my daughter-in-law is a doctor, and she's a medical doctor, but she is a psychiatrist, so that qualifies me to teach you this. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, she really is a doctor, but it doesn't qualify me to do this. But I love this, I just have always kind of loved the brain anyway, so I love getting together with my son and my daughter-in-law to pick her brain, no pun intended, about like the brain and how it works and stuff. But, so, here's what happens, is when you have an experience, your brain takes that experience and compartmentalizes it. And what it does is it puts the pictures in one area, and I'll explain this better in a second, but it puts the pictures in one area, it puts the decisions we've made about that experience in another area, and then the feelings are in another area, okay? So now that's not actually the way that it works. The way that your brain really stores, it's not like this clean, I guess is what I'm saying. The way that your brain really works is it's very messy. Like, have you ever been into somebody's office that their desk is just a mess, but then you ask them, oh, hey, I need this specific file or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, it's right here.
Boom, they grab it out.
They pull it, like that is actually,
You're like, bro,
yeah, that is actually how your brain stores information. It's messy like that, but it also knows where the stuff is at. So this is just easier to explain it to you. Is just assume the pictures are all in one specific area, the decisions are in an area, and the feelings are in an area, but they're compartmentalized. So, meaning that if you have had, and sometimes, I'm not gonna do this today, but sometimes to demonstrate this, I will have somebody come up in front of the class, and I will have them talk about an experience where they were like scared to death. Like if I had one of you come up here and tell an experience where you were really scared, like you truly thought you were going to die, if I had you come up and tell me about that experience, what happens is by the end of you telling me the experience, you would be feeling the exact feelings you felt in that experience.
Yeah, it brings it back to the surface.
So here's the question. Why are you not walking around all the time feeling those feelings? Well, the reason is because your brain compartmentalizes it. It breaks those things apart, puts the pictures in one area, the decisions in another, and the feelings in another area, so that you aren't walking around scared that you're gonna die every second of the day. Like it is a survival mechanism that your brain does. But that also is what happens with what we want to buy in a home is compartmentalized. And so what has to happen, our job, and so in fact, let me even say, remember yesterday I said to you guys, if you don't learn anything else that I taught you about Moxie and Gage, learn that use neighborhood news. Okay, today, if you don't learn anything else that I teach you today, make sure you get this, okay? The whole thing that I am talking to you guys about today is this, is what we are trying to do or cause to happen is we need for our clients to have the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings brought back together again, reintegrated. So get them to all come back together again. When that happens is what we will call crystallization. Crystallization is the moment when the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings all come back together again. When that happens is where crystallization occurs. And here's why this is important. When I said if you don't hear anything else, which by the way, FYI, did you guys too, were you aware that Ronnie and Carrie is Ronnie's sister or vice versa, whatever?
Yeah, Karen's my sister.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, which is why I'm gonna, otherwise, I wouldn't say what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it because Ronnie's here. The moment I said, if you don't miss anything, she dropped off the Zoom. I thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, do not miss this. Now watch, she'll walk in the room here in a second, but.
She said she's coming up at 1, I think.
Oh, did she? Okay, that's,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding, but it was funny because she was on there and then the moment I'm like, okay, if you don't miss it, don't miss this, and then I look over and her name dropped off. Okay. So here's the thing, here's why, is until someone crystallizes, they will not buy. So your job as a real estate agent, and specifically working with buyers, is to help them crystallize. because they're not going to buy until they crystallize. But when they crystallize, they're empowered to buy. That's probably a better way of saying it. They're empowered to buy. But no one is going to buy until they crystallize. Now, remember I said before that this happens and most agents have not been trained in what I'm going to train you guys in? Most agents have not been trained in this. But yet people go buy all the time. Well, here's why. There are two ways to cause crystallization. One is what I'm going to teach you today. The other way is what we call information loading. So what typically has to happen is an agent will go out and show homes high on a hill with a view of the city lights. They show them. Hopefully they're asking additional questions to narrow it down and
Like
figure.
I would like every time.
Yeah.
right?
And hopefully they are. But what's happening along the way is the client is information loading. So this is happening to you guys all the time. When you're watching a sporting event and there's commercials on over and over again, the whole purpose of them showing you commercials is they're trying to information load you so that when you go to the store to buy chips, you go and buy what kind of chips?
Whatever you saw in the commercial.
But what's the first one that comes to your mind when I say that?
Doritos.
Isn't that funny? Every time I teach this class and I say, what's the first one? Not every time, but the majority of the time, most people in the class will say Doritos. I'm like, that's because they've done the best job of information loading you. So that's the other option is people will buy, but they still aren't gonna buy until they crystallize. But the other option, if you don't do what I'm gonna show you, the other option is you show a lot of houses. Who's in for showing a lot of houses? Yeah, me either. Yeah, like even though a lot of times agents are like, I got into real estate because I want to see houses and stuff. Yeah, that's great, but you still don't want to go show 100 of them to one client. Like, you might want to show 100 of them to like 50 clients, but not the other way around. So the key thing, oh, she's back on. I was making fun of you, Carrie, just so you know. So the main thing that your job is to cause crystallization. Your job is to cause crystallization. And so how you're going to do that is through a process that I'm going to work you through and show you how to do now, okay? So what questions before we start to get into this? If any.
It makes sense to me what you're saying, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, do you have any techniques to help them get there like quicker?
Yes, yep, that is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
That's where we're headed. I just wanna, before I go to that, I just wanna make sure that you guys understand this. Okay, so I'm gonna do one last thing and then we're gonna get into, okay, now, so how do we do it? How do we have this happen quickly so that because here's the idea. Typically, in fact, here's what I would say is typically plan on when you do a buyer appointment, it's gonna take between 45 minutes and an hour to go through this. So not horrible, but plan on telling the client, hey, yeah, let's get together. It's gonna probably spend 45 minutes to an hour for me to walk you through the process and hear what it is you're wanting to accomplish, is how I usually say it, okay? So, now, let me just finish it up with this under here, and I talked a little bit about this, of every question you ask somebody has an assumption in it, okay? So just in general, anytime you ask anybody any question, there is going to be some type of an assumption in that. And so part of when I said to you guys, is it okay if we let them buy the house they want, not the one you think they should buy? And then every time I say that, agents will kind of laugh and be like, well, of course we're going to. But I'm telling you, every single one of us tries to, and not necessarily in an intentional bad way, but we try to project onto our client the house we think they should buy.
Yeah, that's.
All of us do it. Because so let me give you an example of this. So Taylor, what's kind of if you had to pick a favorite room in the house, what is it?
Well, the kitchen.
Okay. So, and what is it about the kitchen?
What is it about the kitchen? Well, I spend a lot of time in the kitchen because of cooking and it's just like a gathering area for us.
Okay. So here's what's typically going to happen if you don't intentionally not do this. guess what she will talk about when she's in a house with a client? And she's gonna tend to talk about what she likes about the kitchen. Which again, this is where I always go, is it okay if we let them buy the house they want, not the one you think they should buy? Now, I know I'm being extreme on explaining this, especially when I'm like, don't talk about the kitchen. Unless you have found out what's important to them, then it's great to talk about it, all you want. But talk about what's important to them, not what's important to you. And every one of us has that. So like, I'll give you for me. For me, I would never buy a home that is and don't be offended if you live in this house, it's okay. Like I just don't like them. But I would not buy a split entry. I just don't like split entries, and I would never buy a house without a garage, personally. That's just me.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Before I learned this process, and I need to go back and look on the MLS, but I can only think of one house that I helped a buyer buy that was a split entry without a garage ever. And it was right before I got trained in this process. And what happened was, see, this is what we tend to do, something like this. So I would sit down with a client, go into a conference room, and I'd sit down and say, okay, give me an idea what you're looking for in a home. And they'd be like, 3 bedrooms, 2 cars, 2 baths, whatever. And if they didn't mention a style, I would be like, okay, so what style of home are you looking for? And if they were like, we don't really know for sure, I'd be like, okay, but like you probably don't want a split entry though, right? And they'd be like, oh,
Like veering them
no.
away because you don't like it.
Yeah, so I'm projecting on them like, you probably wouldn't want a split entry, right? And they're like, yeah, no, probably not. Like, and then I'd say, okay, and how many car garage did you want to have? Like I didn't ask them, do you want a garage? I'm just saying, how many car garage? Because I wouldn't buy a house without a garage. Therefore, my assumption is nobody else would. And so I had been working with these clients and they weren't buying. And then they called me one day. That's why I use the example of they just call you one day and go, hey, we found the house we want to go look at. Okay, they tell me. I go to the computer, I look it up, and it's a split entry without a garage. And I'm like, liars are liars. They told me they did not want a split entry and they wanted a garage. And now they're telling me they want to go look at a house with a garage. They're not going to buy a house without a garage. Well, who wouldn't buy a house without a garage? Them or me? Me. And once I learned this process to be like, okay, let them buy the house they want. Don't interrupt it. First, you got to just figure out exactly what it is. So just kind of keep in mind that every question you ever ask somebody has an assumption in it. And here's the key piece of that. That assumption is typically more about you than it is about them. So again, me saying, well, how many car garage do you want to have? What's the assumption? That they want a garage, and it's really more about me that I wouldn't buy a house without a garage. So I was teaching this class one time, and I had an agent raise her hand, and she goes, wait a minute. And I'm gonna do this type of stuff with you guys throughout the day today too, just so you know. But I almost did already, but I was like, I better wait till I have taught it first. But this agent raised her hand and she goes, hold on a minute. So are you telling me that I shouldn't tell every buyer that they should check the sex offender registry before buying a house? And I said, well, let me just ask you, before I answer that question, let me ask you a question. Would you ever buy a house without checking the sex offender registry? And she's like, no, I would never buy a house. And I was like, okay, well, you just answered the question then. Like, because I will tell you, now, again, I'm not saying to tell people not to do stuff, like, but if they're worried about it, do you need to tell them?
Don't plant it in their head. Like, no.
Yeah, but if they're worried about it, do I need to say anything? No, because if they're worried about it, they're already going to do it. So, and I know, again, that's a little bit of an extreme, but that is a true example. And I said to her, I said, you know, I don't ever tell clients that they should or shouldn't check the sex offender registry. Like, if somebody's worried about, if you as a person are worried about mold, guess what you're gonna tell every client? Make sure you get a mold test. And
It's so true.
again, I'm not saying that you should tell them not to, I'm not saying that. But if they're worried, the whole reason we have a buyer due diligence checklist that we require you to get your clients to sign before a transaction is to point out to them, these are the type of things you should consider. And that's the extent really of all we should be doing, is really just saying to people, here are some ideas, like there may be others. And I'm totally good with you telling a client, make sure you check out anything you're worried about on a property. You should check it out. This buyer due diligence checklist is to give you an idea of some examples that people look further into. And if you're worried about it, you should look further into that. And then leave it at that. But a lot of times we feel like, well, yeah, but I'm doing my client a service because I wish somebody would have told me blah, 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 fill in the blank, it doesn't matter. But that's where this is tied back to, like, when I say it jokingly of, is it okay if we let them buy the house they want, not the one you think they should buy? This is what I'm talking about, is that type of stuff, as we start telling them about what we would do if we were buying the house, and might not be bad necessarily, but you also might be creating problems for yourself. In fact, I will say, I think most of the issues that come up in a transaction, and maybe it's not most, but half, are created by the agent, not the client. And especially when you got two agents involved, they
You
create
should
the
do,
problem.
I mean, especially with that situation with the sex offender agent, you should, even if you don't bring it up to them, maybe do a little bit of pre-screening, make sure you're not putting them next door to one, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want them to fight
So-
that out later on,
Well-
because you didn't, you know what I mean? Like,
So-
you should do at least a small level of pre-screen without bringing it up, but that's.
Well, who's buying the house? You were there.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure nobody wants to be next door to something like that, or discover that later
So-
on and then be like, why did you do that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I
Well-
think there's a small level of like, maybe small penetration. Just to make sure you're not like right next door.
So here's the thing, if they're worried about it, they will check it out. Now, here's what I
You don't know
did,
to be worried about it though until it happens.
Perfect.
That's all.
here's how I answered it to the client. So not the client, the agent in the class that brought it up, I will answer to you the same way I did to her, is I said, what if you do check the sex offender registry, but the next door neighbor just hasn't been caught yet?
Wow, that's an unknown versus a known.
Sure, but here's the problem, I guess, what I'm getting at, and I need to come up with a different example, cause I know
do
that
see
one
what
is
you're
so.
saying. No, I do see what you're saying.
But the challenge of it is there are people who feel about mold the same way you're talking about the sex offender registry. And there are other people that feel that way about other things, like whatever different things. So the point is, the whole reason we have that buyer due diligence checklist, and if you look at the top of it, it says, we are trained in the marketing of real estate. These are some ideas of things, to me, that's the extent of what you need to do, is you need to say, take a look at this. If there's anything on here that you're worried about, make sure you're checking it out. Because,
That would be on the list, I think.
yeah, I mean, because the thing is, you're right. You may not necessarily want to put them right next to that, but there might be other things that they actually are more worried about that you didn't recommend, and then now they found out and you didn't recommend it, but you did recommend the other, so why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it as like the client's best interest in the end is all that.
Which
I
again-
do understand what you mean.
Which again, though, is back to that same concept is gonna apply to other areas. You're gonna have things that you feel strongly about, that I guarantee you're gonna talk to the client about, and you might be planting a seed that then creates a problem for them
Now they're-
that they didn't care about or wouldn't have cared
Now
about.
they're limiting themselves because they're looking
Well,
at that.
So, and part of why I even say that is like, I had a brother-in-law, he's passed away now, but I had a brother-in-law who was on the sex offender registry, but I don't think anybody would have needed, the reason he was there, you wouldn't have had to worry about living next door to him with a little kid, like.
Right, yeah, and that's.
So yes, he was on the list, but you also, so I don't wanna get into.
No, I
big
know of
problem.
similar situations to what
Yeah,
you're
so-
talking about, but
Yeah, and he still wasn't a good guy, I'm not changing that, but
no, I.
may he rest in peace.
Come on.
I know, exactly, don't come home to me. Okay. Alright, so, with that, now let's get into, okay, so how do we cause it to to happen, for them to crystallize. I don't know why I left crystal up there, but that was not intentional. I just was erasing this board. Okay, so what we are trying to do, so just to kind of summarize, and then we're gonna get into now how do we do it, is they're gonna show up talking about features. It's not the feature that they want. They're telling you the feature that best in their mind describes the benefit that they're looking for. So if really what they want is privacy, but they show up saying they want the home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, they will be okay with buying a home that's not high on a hill with a view of the city lights if it meets their need that they have. And that's this whole idea where people have this experience that buyers are liars, is because they show up saying one thing, but they actually meant something else. So that's when we started the class, that's what I said. They communicate one thing, they communicate features, but they mean a benefit. So our job is then to figure out, what does that mean? What does the feature mean? And distill it down to a benefit. And the people are gonna buy in 2s and 3s. So the home that they're gonna buy has to meet 2 or 3. So let me explain that real quick. So if you are showing a property to a couple, and one of them goes in and says, love it, I wanna buy it, and the other one's like, not so much. What they're telling you is the one person has 2 or 3 of their needs, the property will meet those benefits or needs. So I'm gonna use that interchangeably, needs or benefits. Okay, so if I say need, I mean benefit. If I say benefit, it could mean need. The property meets 2 or 3 of their needs that they have or benefits, but the person who's hesitant doesn't have their 2 or 3 benefits met. So our job is to figure out, so if you've got a couple, they each have 2 or 3 benefits they're looking for in a property. Our job then becomes to help them find a property that meets the 2 or 3 for each of them. So that's what happens when you get one person wants to buy, one doesn't. What's going on is one of them sees that the property would meet their needs, but it doesn't the other one. And if that happens, they're not buying. So another example of that is sometimes when you sit down with a couple and the husband may say, whatever she wants. Like it's whatever, like I'm that way. I would be like, whatever my wife wants, I'm good, that's fine, whatever. It's not true though.
Yeah.
And the way you figure out it's not true is because then you go out and find the property that meets her needs and he won't write the offer. If it's true, he'll write the offer. If it's not true, he goes, yeah, but the garage isn't quite big enough or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
he's just saying that to avoid the argument at the moment.
Yeah, or maybe it's not even an argument.
Well, yeah, or a
He
disagreement or
just
whatever.
thinks that that's all it is. So, okay, so how do we do it? So here's how we're gonna do this then, is, actually, trying to decide. I have one thing that I sometimes do, that I usually do it a little earlier. But okay, I'll explain it to you. We won't do it, but I'll explain it to you. So sometimes what I will do is have somebody come up and I will have them ask me questions. So, and I realize, like I said, I usually have you guys at the start of the class write down what are 2 or 3 questions you would ask to help you figure out what somebody's looking for in a home. And usually people will write down what's your price range, what area do you want to be in, how many bedrooms or baths. And so I'll sometimes have people come up and do that with me. And then what I will do is I'll say, we're playing this game of pass the baton. And so I will have them hold this and say, the only person that can talk is the person holding this, okay? So if I had, Ronnie, you come up and do it, you would say, what price range are you looking at? And you would hand me this. And then I would say, up to $1 million, and I'd hand it back to you. And then you would have to ask me another question of like, what area do you want to be in? And you hand it to me, and I'd say somewhere central in the valley, hand it back to you. Then you would say, how many beds and baths? And you'd hand it to me, and I'd say 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. And I'd hand it back to you, say, how many car garage? And I'd say 4 car garage, hand it back. Like, notice what that conversation would look like, is this pass back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what typically happens. But if we want to cause crystallization, which I'm going to start quizzing you on that in a second here, is like I'm going to start saying, why are we doing this? And your answer is going to be to cause crystallization. Okay, good. Because if you forget that's why we're doing this, you will miss the whole point. Like, yes, we're gonna get some really good information along the way, but the purpose is to cause crystallization, and why?
Help make a decision.
Yeah, because nobody's gonna buy until they do. They're not gonna buy until they crystallize. So your job is to help them crystallize. The way we do it is bring the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings back together again, okay? So, what are we trying to cause?
Crystallization.
See, I got one person said it. We're trying to cause crystallization. I'm telling you, if you forget this, you'll sit down and have a great information gathering session with your client, but if you don't cause crystallization, they're not gonna go buy. You'll have to show a ton of houses. If you like showing a ton of houses, then don't do this. If you wanna show some houses, then help them write an offer. So let me actually even tell you that, and then we'll get into this, when I first learned this, I actually, so I had mentioned to you guys on Tuesday that I had gotten started in real estate, was kind of struggling a little bit, went to a training, the guy at the training, he became a mentor for me. And when I went through that training and I saw that if I would just set one new appointment every day, my business just took off. And I'm telling you, that is the secret to this business, is set one new appointment every day. So I didn't say that on Tuesday, but if you don't forget that part of the training, set one new appointment every day. So I took off. So I had gone to the guy and was like, hey, I want more of your training. Well, the company that I was with had brought him in and there just wasn't a lot of interest in it for whatever reason. And I don't understand why there wasn't, but there wasn't. So I went to the guy and I was like, I want to learn this stuff better. And so he said, well, I'm going to be doing a training in the San Francisco Bay Area if you want to fly and learn what I'm going to teach you guys now. And I said, I do. So I flew to California, I got trained in this, I came back, and the first client that I sat down with and took them through this process, after the process was over, I went and found some properties to show them, and I'm going to walk you through some scripts and stuff too with that. But I went and found 3 properties that I was going to go show them. We got in the car, we drove. I could still take you to the house, because this made this big of an impact on me. So it was a brand new listing, just hit the MLS. So we pull up and there's not a side in front. So we pull up in the car, I'm driving, the husband was sitting here, and then his wife was behind me in the back seat. But I remember we pulled up to the house and I parked in front, the house was right here, I parked on the street. And they were like, which house is it? Because there wasn't a sign out yet. And I was like, oh, it's this one right here. And I remember, so he's sitting right here. I remember I said, it's that one. He looks at it. He turns and looks over his shoulder at his wife. And I couldn't see what she was doing because I was looking at him. But he turned and looked at her and he goes, I think this is it. And she was like, I think you're right. And I was like, well, hold on. Let's go inside at least first. Because my experience in that, I'd been in the business, I think almost 3 years by the time I went to this training. And I was like, well, let's go inside first. So we get out of the car, and I remember we walked up to the front door, but the key box wasn't on the front door. So I remember we went, it had a carport, by the way, no garage. So goes to the carport, and there was a door on the side there that had the key box on it. So I opened it, we walked in, and the whole time, they're like, yep, this is it. This is the place. And I was like, this can't be. But I still had 2 other houses to show them. Now, I wouldn't do this today, but then I was like, well, hold on, guys. Don't get too excited, because I got 2 more to show you. And they were like, oh, okay. So we get in the car, we drove to the second one, have no clue where the other 2 were at. But we drive to the second one, got out, looked at it. They're like, nope, we like the first one better. Okay, went to the next one. Nope, we really actually want that one. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, no, that's good. I was like, okay, this can't be that simple. Which I will tell you, it's not always that simple. But you will find, if you do this right and you go through and you identify the 2 or 3 needs that they have, they're empowered to buy. Now, you do have to go find a property that somewhat meets that, right? Meaning, but here's the key thing. Once they crystallize, they're less worried about the feature, and they recognize the need, and they will also figure out that there are other ways to meet this need. Now, last thing I'm gonna say, and then we'll get into how do we do it. I keep saying that, huh? That's kind of like, after this commercial break.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Okay,
George mode.
here's the last thing that I'm gonna say to you guys, and I'm gonna say it a lot of times to you today. Features have a price tag, benefits don't. Features have a price tag, benefits do not. And the reason I say that is you're gonna see here in a second as I start to take you through this process, you're going to have the thought. In fact, please, when you have this thought, say it out loud, okay? When you have this thought. Because you're gonna, in a minute, have a thought to yourself of, well, wait a minute, like, what if they describe something that they can't afford? So you gotta promise me, when you have that thought pop in your head, you will say it out, raise your hand and say it out loud. So that I can come back and say, features have a price tag, benefits don't, okay? Because you're going to have that thought at some point along the way. You're gonna be like, well, wait a minute, like, they're gonna describe something that doesn't exist. And then they're gonna have, that's the other thought you're gonna have, is they're gonna have to go build a house because they're never gonna find anything that meets all of these needs. Just remember, they only need 2 or 3. So in the beginning, it's gonna feel like that. Like when you sit down with somebody, it would feel like, holy cow, like you're creating an impossible scenario. You're never gonna find a house that has everything that they're saying that they want. And that is true, by the way. But the good news is you don't have to. You only gotta find 2 or 3 of the benefits, the features that meet the benefit is probably the best way of saying it. You only gotta find 2 or 3 of the features that meet that benefit. And the reason I say features have a price tag, benefits don't, is because you can find the benefits in any price range. So even if somebody is explaining this multi-million-dollar house, and you feel like that's what they're explaining, they still are only gonna buy a home that meets the needs that they describe with this multi-million-dollar house. They're only gonna buy a house that meets those needs. And the good news is you could find it in a mobile home. Like even if they describe a $20 million house, the benefit that they're looking for in that $20 million house exists in a mobile home somewhere. So that's the good news on this. So don't panic, but I still do want you to say, well, wait, how are they gonna afford that? Or aren't they gonna have to build? So that just for my enjoyment, please say that, so that I can say, features have a price tag. Okay, you ready? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Do you wanna take a break?
I'm fine. I'm good.
I'm somewhat kidding, but not, I mean, I'm not, but, because we've been like an hour and 15, but. Okay, here's the deal, when somebody's ready to take a break, will you guys just, because I'll go like all day if you don't. If somebody wants a break, just say, can we take a break, and then we'll take one. Sound good? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, is the idea is, what you wanna do is when you set an appointment with a buyer, I'm gonna give to you the ideal scenario, okay? So I'm gonna outline it as the ideal. I know the ideal is not gonna always happen, but do as best as you can to get the ideal, okay? So as close to the ideal as you can do this. So ideal is you have them come to the office. You have them come here and meet. Now the reason for that is, if you go meet them at a house, or their house, or even out in a vacant house even, but, which by the way, I have had people, a non-vacant house, like sit down on somebody's couch and spend 45 minutes to an hour, like don't do that. Don't do that. Like you're in somebody's house, like don't do it there. But I've had people do it at a restaurant or Starbucks or something like, and that can work. The reason I say the ideal is have them come to the office is that way you don't have any distractions. You want to have as minimal distractions as possible. So the ideal would be have them come to the office. Next ideal is you have all decision makers present when you do this. Now, someone could be a decision maker even if they're not on title. Go ahead.
From my husband's experience with door to door, that's their thing too. Always have both decision makers. When you're closing, do not have just one of the spouses. Especially the ladies, they're always gonna open the door and tell you they're the decision maker. They don't need to talk to their husband. The second they sit down for a contract, I need to talk to my husband.
My husband, yeah.
Even if they tell you their decision, they're not.
Yep.
That's going to be an objection, they're gonna bring
Yep.
up something else,
Yep. But sometimes you might not, even though they may say, oh, my husband and I are both doing this together and we will come in. I have seen scenarios and so just know you may not, somebody's probably not gonna admit this, so you may not know it until it happens. But the 16-year-old daughter might be the decision maker. Like even though she's not gonna be on title, she might be the one that, I'm not living in this house or whatever, like I've had that happen before. So ideal is we want all the decision makers to be present because, and part of it is for the closing, yes, but bigger for me is to figure out who is making the decisions, because I wanna make sure we meet their benefits. So it is tied to, yes, it's better if you can just have them there to everybody sign, that's true, especially on a listing, for sure. But the bigger issue for me is I know I have to cause crystallization. This whole thing is about causing crystallization. Have I said that yet? Okay, just making sure that I did, because this whole thing is about causing crystallization, because until they crystallize, they're not gonna buy, okay? So, the first thing that we're gonna do when they come to the office is you wanna sit down with them and I like to actually, let me even put this before number one, but is I'm just gonna say you're gonna do a bio, which is, I don't know, I gotta think of, maybe intro is a better word, I don't know. When you have them come to the office, you want to sit down with them and just say, hey, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you being willing to come in and spend a few minutes. So just like on the listing presentation, the tap, we want to thank, acknowledge, promise. Okay, so I want to do, hey, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you taking the time to come and I promise I'm going to give you some really good information and help you figure out what it is that really that we're wanting to accomplish in buying the home. Before we get started though, let me tell you a little bit about me and then I want you to tell me a little bit about you. And you're going to start by telling them a little bit about you. Now, on this telling them a little bit about you, don't focus on real estate. Now on a seller, I would focus on some real estate. But with a buyer, don't talk about how long you've been in real estate and how many houses you've sold and blah, blah, blah. Like, I want you to be personal with them. So meaning you're gonna say to them, like, so if it were me, I'd be saying, before we get started, let me tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm married, I've got 3 boys, all 3 sons, like we love baseball. We spend, all of my whole kids growing up life was, most of our vacations were traveling to a baseball tournament somewhere. Like you wanna talk for 1 to 2 minutes. So minimum 1 minute, but not more than 2. If you go more than 2 minutes, you're going too long. So 1 to 2 minutes where you're telling them some information about you. Like what is it, the other thing I would say, he's probably saying is, my wife and I love to travel in our family. We go to Disneyland a lot. We spend a lot of time at Disneyland. We have season passes or annual passes. And so we spend a lot of time there. And that's a little bit about me. Now tell me a little bit about you. So that's how you want to do this intro is, you want to tell them a little bit about you, and it needs to be like personal information about you. And the reason you go first, sometimes I'll have agents say, shouldn't you let them go first? And the reason I go first on that is if I tell them that type of stuff about me, what do you think they're going to tell me?
The same.
Same type of stuff, right? And so that's why you don't want to bring up that I've been licensed for this long and I've sold this many houses and I've been with Century 21 for 10 years and blah, blah, Instead, talk about use it as a way for them to kind of get to know you. And then you're going to say, so that's a little bit about me, tell me a little bit about you. They're then going to tell you the same type of stuff back. So that is a twofold reason. One is you're now going to find out a little bit more about them so that you then can have stuff to talk about when you go out to look at houses and stuff too. If you struggle with that, you could be, hey, so you mentioned that, you guys like to travel to wherever, Europe. Where do you guys like to go in Europe? Whatever, gives you personal stuff. The other thing though is you're gonna notice here in just a minute that we are gonna get into some pretty personal stuff on the house. And if you have already been personal with them and then now you're starting to talk about the house and potentially personal stuff, they're gonna be more open to it because you've already been kind of doing that. So that's the reason you go first and do 1 to 2 minutes, is so that they will share back the same type of information and you're helping set the stage a little bit, okay? So once I've done that, the next thing that I'm gonna do is permission. And I just realized I didn't print this off for you, so I'll have to, I'll get this printed for you when we either take a break or lunch or something, if we don't take a break. Permission. Here's what permission sounds like, and I will give you this as a script, so I'll also repeat it if you want me to, if you want to write it down, that's fine too. But I'm gonna say, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, so in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you. Now, here's the key things in that. You'll notice that I didn't say in order for me to decide if I can work with you. I said in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, which sounds better. In order for me to determine if I can work with you, or in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you. Yeah, so those are the kind of the key words. I'm not like huge. There are a few scripts that I'm like, you gotta get it word for word. If you understand the concept, you could say well however you want. But for me, the key thing on it is, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you a few questions. Some of them may be personal. So that's why we were just already personal, so that I can say, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may be personal or feel personal. You can say it either way. I think I usually say feel personal. Some of them may feel personal. Or be things you haven't considered. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask, did you mention this was the one that you're gonna print out later?
Yeah, I will print this for you, yeah. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may feel personal or be things you haven't considered. Is that gonna be okay? That's the way I think I have it printed. If you wanna know how I really say it, it's just, I say it a little differently than how I'm gonna give it to you. And the only reason I give it to you the way I'm giving it to you is because most agents freak out at the way that I actually say it. So here's how I really say it. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may feel personal. They may even make you feel a little uncomfortable. Or they may be things you haven't considered. Is that gonna be okay? Like I throw in they might even make you a little uncomfortable. Is that gonna be okay? And the chances that you're going to say anything that's gonna make them uncomfortable is pretty low. But it could happen. But here's when I say it could happen. It's going to happen because of them, not me. And so that's why I say it as, some of them might even make you a little uncomfortable. Is that gonna be okay? But I will tell you, I'm not gonna intentionally bring up something to make them uncomfortable. It would only be because of them saying something that I then ask another question about, that they might be like, well, I mean, so. Anyway, that's how I do it. So that's permission. So you're gonna start with, before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about me, tell me a little bit about you. Great. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may be things, maybe, I don't even know how I told you to write it down now. I'm stuck on the same and comfortable now. Some of them may be personal. Some of them may feel personal or be things you haven't considered. Is that gonna be okay? Yes. Okay. Then, as soon as they say yes, then we're gonna do this. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna use what's called a directive. Okay? And a directive, remember I said to you guys yesterday, the way your brain works is like a computer. Given a set of information, it's gonna respond a certain way. That's kind of the same thing we're doing here. So a directive, think of a directive as being like you're the director of a movie, okay? So you're there to direct this whole conversation. So back to when I was talking about the passing the baton, if I had done that and had Ronnie come up and we sat and did that, then I would have reversed roles and said, okay, this time I'm the agent, you're the client. And then I would have done what I'm gonna do right now. But what you would have noticed is he would have done way more talking than I would as the agent.
This would be long.
He would have talked way more than I did as the agent, and that's what we want. You want the client doing most of the talking. So that's the good news. is the way that most agents approach this, the pressure is on them to keep coming up with questions to ask. But if you do this right, using these directives, the pressure then moves, and it's really not pressure, but there's no pressure on you. The client's doing most of the talking, okay? And I'll show you what this looks like too. We'll do an example of it. But I'm gonna start with a directive. The one that I like to use is describe for me your ideal home. Okay? Describe for me your ideal home. And then after that, you be quiet. As the agent, don't say anything. Just be quiet. And I'll show you what that looks like. So directives are describe for me your ideal home. The other directives that you can use are help me understand. Tell me about. Or share with me. Okay? Those are all directives. Think of it this way, as those are open-ended questions, not how many bedrooms? 3. How many baths? 2. Where do you want to be in the valley? You know, these are open-ended, and now remember, what are we trying to do?
Crystallization.
Cause crystallization.
Okay, good. We're trying to cause crystallization. And the way that we're gonna do that, I'm gonna keep coming back to this because it's so important. If you forget this, if you forget the whole reason we're doing this is to cause crystallization, you're gonna get a lot of information, but it's not gonna save you any time or frustration. You're trying to cause crystallization in them. The way we cause crystallization is we gotta get the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings to come back together. The way we're gonna get the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings to come back together is we first start by describe for me. So now notice the word. That's why I always use this instead of these ones. But describe for me. You're telling them to describe it. Like you're saying, give me detail. Describe for me your ideal home. Then you're gonna just be quiet while they describe it to you. And what should happen then, what we're trying to do is, and I probably should have the arrow kind of go both directions here. But these directives are designed to get them to access the part of the brain where the pictures are stored, but it also could include the decisions as well, by the way. But mostly if you just think of it that way, is describe for me your ideal home is designed about getting them to access the unconscious part of the brain. So I'm saying, describe for me your ideal home. Now, here's where the magic of this really happens, is I'm gonna say, describe for me your ideal home. They're gonna then start to talk. As they're talking, I want to make sure that I am giving them some type of positive reinforcement. Remember we talked before about repeat and affirm? This is the same concept, although we're not gonna be repeating as much, but you do want to be affirming them. So for me, when they're talking, and I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna have one of you guys be the client and we'll do this. But I'm gonna say, describe for me your ideal home. And then as they're talking, I wanna make sure that I'm like the little bobbing dog in the car. Like my head wants to be, you wanna be going, and I would throw in stuff like, oh, interesting, wow, huh, cool, yeah, oh, awesome, wow, okay, sure, makes sense, oh, for sure, absolutely. Like, you want to be giving them positive feedback because, again, it is not uncommon for it to be like this. See, they show up thinking you're trying to communicate with them at the conscious level. So when you say to somebody, describe for me your ideal home, it is not going to be uncommon for somebody to go 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, high on a hill with a view of the city lights. Like, they're going to talk to you at this level. Now, here's the secret to this though, is once they stop talking, I'm realizing I should have done the baton thing, but we'll do it, it's okay. Is that I'm gonna use what we call prompters. Prompters, and prompters are, what else? Keep going. Say more. Stuff like that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is then I would be saying and describe for me your ideal home. So think of it like passing the baton. I'm gonna say, describe for me the ideal home. I'm gonna hand her the baton, and then she's gonna start to describe for me what the house would look like. When she then figuratively hands me back the baton, so when she hands it to me, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna say, wow, you're doing a really good job. So I wanna give the positive feedback. Hey, you're doing a really good job, what else? So I'm gonna go, hey, you're doing a really good job, Anna, what else? And hand her back the baton. Now, here's what happens. What you will find is when you do that, well, let me back up. If the client is communicating at this level and they hand you back the baton and you say, hey, you're doing a great job, what else? All of a sudden, at an unconscious level, they recognize you're more interested in finding out really what they want than just the surface level. And what you will find is they will really actually start to think. So, in fact, I actually already sort of did it to you, Taylor, when I said, so what is it about the kitchen? As soon as I said that, I should have told you two to turn and look, because as soon as I did that, she goes, like all of a sudden you stop to think, well, so yeah, what is it about the kitchen that what happened is you started to dive deeper into figuring that out.
They hadn't even thought about that yet. You're
Yeah,
like
that's
almost
what-
helping them dig deeper.
They haven't thought at a conscious level.
Right.
You're right, yeah. But so that's what will happen when you say describe for your ideal home. If not everybody stays at this level. Some of them immediately will start to go down here. And the way you'll know is just, you know how when you ask somebody a question, they're like, yeah, let me think first. Like, they may not say, let me think for a second, but you'll notice them going, And as soon as they start to do that, you know you're getting them to access this part of the brain, which is what we want to have happen in order to cause crystallization. So, when I say describe for me your ideal home, when they stop talking, I'm gonna just say, Anna, you're doing a really good job, what else? Or, Anna, you're doing great, keep going. Or, you're doing awesome, say more, or tell me more, whatever. But just, when she hands me the baton back, figuratively, I'm just gonna say, oh, you're doing a great job, keep going. And then I'm gonna keep doing that until she says, I don't know what else to say.
You're
I
almost
can't-
like training them to tell you what they really want in the house. It's like, you're almost guiding them to do something they hadn't even thought to do yet
Correct.
themselves.
Correct.
It's a little therapist session.
It is.
Yeah, well, and it is somewhat even like when your mom said, basically what your mom said is, make this thing of what the cons and pros and cons of, like when you do that, when you've heard people say, make a list of why you should or why you shouldn't, in essence, the whole point of the why you should and why you shouldn't is this same concept. It's trying to bring from the unconscious up to the surface what you should or shouldn't do or whatever. But in this scenario, yeah, you're exactly right, is what we're for. This is why people show up and say, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll know it when I see it. Is because they're saying, it's down here, I just don't know how to communicate
Taking
it
it out
in a way.
early before you start going and looking at 100 houses.
That's what we're trying to do, is we're just trying to cause this crystallization first. Now, and we're just scratching the surface here. So I'm gonna say, describe for me your ideal home. They're gonna talk. When they figuratively hand the baton back to you, meaning like they stop talking, you're gonna then reinforce, hey, you're doing a great job. What else? And I'm gonna keep doing that of, oh man, you're doing fantastic. This is so interesting. What else? And that you have to make sure you're doing that positive reinforcement. Otherwise, it's gonna feel awkward to them and they're gonna be like, well, I'm talking too much and you don't need this much information. No, I want this much information. And remember, I want as much as they can give me. In fact, if I had a cup here and I had water and I was pouring water into the cup, could I get the water to actually be above the rim of the cup? Oh, I might have to go get one because Ronnie's saying
Well, if you
no.
put your hands around it, you could.
Well,
It bubbles up a little bit unless you put that little extra drop that makes it drip, but you can make a little dome.
Yeah, you can actually make you could create this little dome on there and then the next drop, what happens?
And pour it over.
It goes, that's what we're trying to create with the client. That's why I want to describe for me your ideal homes. I'm trying to get them to give me so much information. Give me, and then I'm trying to create this surface tension, that's why you can do that with a cup of water. Even if you're not touching it, you could fill it to where it's actually above the rim, and then one other drop, and all of a sudden that one drop creates overflow. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that surface tension so that we can then create this crystallization. So I'm gonna say, describe for me your ideal home. They're gonna talk. Once they are done, in fact, let's do it. Who wants to be the buyer? Don't all volunteer. Oh, I usually say, give me a girl. I'm just kidding. You're right. No, you're kidding. I'm kidding. All right. Oh. We gotta sit clear back here so the people on TV can see. All right. So we're gonna assume he's come into the office, and we're gonna skip, but we'll just kind of quickly, we're gonna do, so hey, thanks for coming in. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about me, blah, blah, blah. Tell me a little bit about you, blah, blah, blah. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions, and some of them may feel personal, maybe things you haven't considered before. Is that gonna be okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect. So describe for me your ideal home.
4 bedrooms, 3 baths, up on a hill. That's my perfect home, in the mountains.
Okay, so you're doing a good job. What else? Now pay attention to his face.
Trying to not dig too deep, but yeah, when you say what else, it's like,
Yeah, no, that's what you want to have happen. Okay, so what else?
I'd like it to have a pool. I think that would be great.
Okay, sure.
Maybe some, I don't know, definitely a fenced yard in the back, because we've got a dog, that's
Okay.
important to me,
Yeah, for sure.
stuff like that.
Okay, sure, what else?
See, now you got me digging.
Well, I know, that's the point.
Yeah. Schools need to be close, I have 2 young kids, I'd like, to make sure school is close to the area. I don't wanna do a lot of commute for that.
Makes sense.
Off the top of my head, that's all, I can really come up with at the moment.
Okay, so if he wouldn't, once they say that's all I can come up with at the moment, then you can stop. Now, I should have actually prefaced it with, is anybody thinking, ideally, I love to have somebody come up here who's actually thinking about buying a home. Are you thinking about buying right now?
No.
Okay, are either of you?
Maybe.
Maybe you don't wanna come up here though, but,
No, I
So-
can come up if you want.
okay, let's try it, because with somebody who's actually thinking about it, you tend to get a little bit more, and I should have even said, be as real as possible, so I should have said that. Okay, so describe for me your ideal home.
Definitely need more space in the kitchen. So bigger kitchen, we need a bigger garage.
Sorry, I'm just saying, watch her eyes specifically, but,
Okay.
and don't you worry about it.
Okay. Okay, garage, kitchen. We have a 4-bedroom right now, so sticking to minimum of 4-bedroom. Don't have a backyard, so definitely need a backyard. And we love our little location in Santa Quinn. It's like the newer build.
Okay.
It's really far from everything, but we're staring directly at a mountain.
Oh,
Don't wanna change that.
yeah, for sure.
We don't care for a bigger home, we just need more parking space, backyard, and a slightly bigger kitchen, more for storage.
Okay, sure. Yeah, what else?
Probably stay within that Santa Quinn area. We were even joking, by the time we are able to afford it, we're just gonna move into the bigger houses
Sure.
down closer to the hill.
Yeah, makes sense.
Probably, if possible, a finished basement.
Okay, sure.
That'd save up some time.
Mhm.
9-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
Husband's tall, I'm not, but he
Oh,
is.
really? Okay. Which he would be sitting here, so I know that, but.
Yeah, cause we got the 9 foot, but the second floor is 8 feet, so if we could have both I mean, if I can be really picky,
Sure.
I would love the living room to have like the 2-story height,
Yeah,
if possible.
okay, sure,
If not, I'm willing to get rid of a bedroom to do that.
okay, sure.
I struggle with my current office situation at home right now because there's no sunlight
Oh.
and I'm constantly cold. My husband is constantly hot, so he's overheating in his office. I'm freezing cold in mine.
Yeah.
So probably have most of the rooms, if not office areas in the home, be direct sunlight most of the day if possible. That's me getting like real picky.
That's okay, I'm great, yeah, what else?
I guess a bigger closet,
Okay, sure.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, we have a rule that we have a set amount of hangers, we can't, if we have to buy more hangers, then we need to get rid of clothes, maybe not a bigger closet, I don't know. We have a 1 in, 1 out rule, so maybe
Gotcha.
keep a small closet, but
Sure, hey, you're doing a great job. What else?
maybe have I'm getting way picky.
That's okay.
With interior design, I really like the functionality of certain things, so I'd 1,000 times prefer drawers over cabinets.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Kitchen, bathrooms, anywhere that I could put a drawer, so if I could have drawers, that's all I can come up with.
Yeah, okay, great, you did a great job. All right, give her a hand. All right, and Ronnie too, sorry. I should have prefaced it with, are you thinking about it? Because notice the difference though, with somebody who's actually thinking about it. But, we'll go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
Aren't you kind of like, the more they spout out, aren't you minimizing like your options out there? Cause now they're like getting picky. Like, you gotta be a little careful about that.
Thank you, remember I told you guys were gonna say that? And I said, please say it, so thank you for saying it. Yes, so it feels like that right now, yes, it feels like that. But keep in mind, in the beginning, so keep in mind, I'm gonna give you basically 3 steps. We're on step 1. And on step 1, yeah, that's the challenge with this, is it feels like I'm creating a huge problem for myself because what she just talked about, 1, can she afford it? Remember? 2 is, does it exist? Right? That's what you're thinking.
Halfway through that conversation.
Thank you. That's what I know, thank you for saying it. I want you guys to keep bringing, every time you have that thought, bring it up. And just keep in mind, in the beginning, remember, I'm trying to fill up this cup of water to create the surface tension. And so I have to get as much water as I can out of her in order to do that. But what you're gonna see happen is we're gonna go from all of this information down to 2 or 3. And those 2 or 3 are all that matters. And the good news is, we can find those benefits that she's looking for in the 2 or 3 in any property, any price range, not any property, any price range. So that's the good news. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter how detailed she describes it. She will not buy a property that doesn't have the 2 or 3 benefits. And here's the thing, do you know what those 2 or 3 benefits are? You do? What are they?
Yeah, the garage.
Okay, that's a
is,
feature.
Of the benefits.
Yeah, do you know what the
Space.
benefits are?
Space, storage,
Okay,
and
so here's the thing, I typically don't do this, but I want to show you guys, like, that's not a benefit. Space and storage is, but we'll get to it, but so like, what is it about space and storage? I think I know now, but this is the challenge of this, is I think I know what her benefit is, but I need to let her tell me, because sometimes what happens is I think I know and I'm wrong.
So confirm what you
Well,
think.
not even confirm, but let her tell me,
Right.
I'm not gonna, so even though right now I think I know, this is how I would approach it, so keep going. So what is it about space and?
it's what we have right now works, but it would be more convenient if we just had, if we're just
She
able
just said
to
the benefit word.
convenient.
Convenience is what she's looking for. So convenience is one of her benefits that she's looking for. But when I said to you what benefit is, you're like, space.
She was naming the like sub things to that.
Correct. And so think of it that way, is that's what's gonna happen, is it's almost like what happens is they start here with this feature, then they're gonna talk about the what of the feature. Is usually, like, that's what she did, when she said I need the space, that's more the what, which is then I said, okay, so what is it about that that's important? And that's when then she got to, and she said it would just be more convenient. Now, I shouldn't have interrupted, I should have just let her keep talking, but that's where I assumed she was heading. When people say space, it could mean a few different things, but the way that she was talking about it, my assumption was it was gonna be convenience. So I'll throw that one up here now too. I'm probably spelling it wrong. I didn't spell convenience.
CONVENIENCE.
Alright,
Is that icon for-
here's what I always say, if you can't spell a word more than one way, you're not very creative. And so if I spell it wrong, it's because I'm so creative. Alright, so convenience, okay? So think of it as they sit in a chain like that. We start with what the feature is, what they're gonna use it for, and then why they need it. Okay, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So, okay, so what else, what did you guys notice watching either Ronnie or Anna? Are you feeling bad that I haven't had you come up?
Oh,
Horrible.
So, what did you notice as you watched this?
like what if we notice like their nonverbals?
Mhm.
Yeah. They look up. They look up when they're thinking.
Yeah, so that's part of what you want. The other thing too that that Anna did, that you want to see, although not everybody does it, so it's okay if they don't. But did you notice she started to talk with her hands?
Oh, yeah.
So that's,
a cultural thing.
well, for sure, some of it is, but for the most part, you will know the person is accessing the part of they're picturing it. When they start using their hands, it is generally because they are picturing it in their mind, and so they're kind of starting to tell you about it. So that's, not everybody is going to do that. So I'm not saying if they don't do it, that you need to worry, but don't be surprised, and when they do start to use their hands, you can go, okay, good, they are starting the process of crystallization. We aren't there yet, just started. But did you notice how long I was okay with it being quiet? Like I said, okay, what else? And a lot of times agents will have a hard time with it being quiet, like when they stop and they start to think, the agent wants to be like giving them, like, what about the garage? Like, you'll notice, what did I say? I didn't say anything that's not written up here, did I? Other than, oh wow, interesting, yeah, for sure, great. Like, I did the positive feedback, gave her positive reinforcement, but the purpose of that is I don't want them to feel like, oh, I'm doing too much talking. Like, I want them to know, hey, you're doing great, it's perfect, keep going, what else? Tell me more. Like, be interested in it and keep them going until when? How do you know when to stop?
When they're crystallized.
Yeah.
When they
Well,
say,
When,
They tell you they don't have any.
yeah, as soon as they say, I don't know what else to tell you, or, oh, that would be, if I could get that would be perfect. That's exactly what, yes, that'd be awesome. Like, I will just keep doing the, hey, you're doing a great job, what else? Oh, so interesting, tell me more. Like, notice how I'm saying that though, and you've gotta say it that way, oh, so interesting, tell me more. There was something that she said that I got really excited about, that I was like,
The drawers.
yeah, I'm like, I don't really know or care, like, but you have to do that so that, like, when I'm like, oh yeah, like, I always, people like people who are like them or who they wanna be, remember? So I want to give them that positive reinforcement, but it's gotta come across sincere, hopefully it felt.
It
But you want it, like, I don't really have a preference over drawers versus cabinets, but I want her to know that it's okay to keep telling me, and so I'm going to do stuff like that. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, for sure. Like, you almost wanna act like, I know, who doesn't feel that way, And it is about helping them through this process. Is that making sense? Okay.
If they're being like overly unrealistic though? Is your next step to,
Nope,
you don't try to bring them back to earth at all?
nope,
Okay.
nope. Here's the thing. They will get there on their own. Like, she already was even saying, like, I mean, how did you say it? I'm being,
Picky.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
being
being
really
picky.
picky. Great, I love it. Like, that's how I would do it. Hey, that's awesome. Keep going, tell me. And you're getting caught up in, I'm not gonna be able to find her the property. It's not gonna exist, or you're caught up in, she can't afford it, which is,
Yeah, I mean, I would just be more like pointing out the things that don't exist. Because what if they're pointing out things that don't exist?
it's okay.
So at no point you come back and try to bring them back to earth at all.
No, not where we're at. And eventually I might, and the key word is I might. But kind of think of it as right now, everything she gave me is important.
Right.
But we're going to, in fact, we're gonna do it right now, the next step in this is to get it down to 2 or 3. So, what I'm gonna do, but so let me actually, I'm gonna give you this later. So, I have here, oh, it even has the script already up on the top that I told you I would give to you. I forgot I had it here. So, what you wanna do is you can see these, for these guys on Zoom, I don't know how well they can see anyway, but should have been here in person,
I
Justin.
know, I'm sorry,
Eli.
jeez. It's okay, I have that though.
Okay, all right,
I'll be
So-
there at 1.
what you're gonna do, I'm gonna give this to you, oh, what'd you say, Eli?
I'll be there at 1.
Oh,
Sorry,
you're the
dude.
best. What about you, Justin? You're muted.
And
Say
Yeah,
that
he-
again, I didn't hear what Eli said.
He said he's gonna be here at 1, are you?
I will not be there today,
Man. I just can't get
sorry.
going.
I have an appointment I have to go to,
Oh,
for
that's all.
real estate.
That's, oh, good, all right. Go sell a $12 million house.
600,000, but okay.
That works. Okay, so, what you're gonna do is, so think of it this way, when you say to them, describe for me your ideal home, what you're gonna do then, and I'm gonna give you this paper, but you actually could just get a blank piece of paper and draw this, and it will work. So what I wanna do though is when I say describe for me your ideal home, and they then start to describe it, think of it as every feature that they talk about is gonna fit into one of these boxes. Now, it doesn't matter how you fill this out, it matters, as long as you understand it, that's all that matters. The client doesn't need to, I don't need to, as long as how you fill this out makes sense to you, it's all that matters. So typically for me, the way I will do it though, is as soon as they start to talk about a feature of the home, I'm gonna then write it down here. So, and this is bad because, well, first, before I say what I'm gonna say, let me just ask. How did you feel during that process?
Like as in nervous or comfortable, or what do you mean?
Just, well, I guess mostly what I'm thinking, how did you feel about me?
Like you're listening.
Yeah, like it felt like I was
Yeah.
interested in listening, right?
Yeah.
That's what we wanna make sure that they feel like you're interested and you are really listening to them. So that is the other part of it too, Ronnie, that I would say is part of why I don't care, is the more you can have them feel like you are interested and you care, the better it's gonna be.
right, I'm not saying come back and be like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or you can't do that, that's not.
Well, there are some that do though.
I would just maybe like in a nice way be like, well, those features don't exist in home.
Yeah, I'll tell you when you could do that, not yet.
Probably later down.
So what I'm gonna do then is whatever feature she talks about, I'm gonna take shorthand notes here. So when she was talking about walk-in closet, you could just, if you wanted to have that be walk-in closet, you could do that. Like, if you wanted to just do, write out walk-in, that's fine too. Whatever it is, but, when they're talking about a feature, or you could even just put closet there, you could have just put closet. But when they're talking about a feature, just keep notes about that feature in that box. And it doesn't matter, like you can do, you know, I could, if they gave a ton of information, use 2 boxes for that one feature. It doesn't, like, all that matters is that you can interpret what you're writing, that's it. So if they talk about the kitchen, then I would do the kitchen here. She talked about, what other features did you talk about? I wasn't really listening.
She wanted the vaulted ceiling.
Oh yeah, the
in
vaulted
living room or
ceilings.
something.
Yeah, the bigger garage. Storage back.
Yeah, so I probably would have thrown storage in with the garage like that, maybe, maybe not, I mean, it's up to you, it doesn't matter. But notice, every feature that they talked about, I would put in here. Now, I'm gonna ask you somewhat of a trick question, but not really, but. You'll notice on this paper when I give it to you, and when I drew this out here, notice I don't have rooms in the house listed on here. Why? Why do I not have stuff listed? Why is it just blank? Like, wouldn't it be easier if I just had it labeled kitchen, garage, backyard?
Cause you're,
Family
they're
room.
choosing what they're worried about.
Good. That's right. Because guess what you'll do, if I had written up here, oh, she brought up basement too, huh? Finish.
Well, that's just to avoid an argument with my husband, because I've been trying to get him to finish that business. So,
That works. So, if I had written up here, she didn't say anything about kitchen, did you?
just more cabinets.
Oh,
I have like those small.
That was the first thing she went to was the kitchen.
Yeah,
well, I'll just say, she didn't say anything about a family room then, or backyard maybe. Did you say
Yeah.
anything backyard?
yeah, backyard, but not the
You did
family.
say backyard?
Yeah,
Man, I did not listen at
Yeah,
all.
the bathroom, bathroom, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, but here's what would happen. If I had written in here bathroom, guess what you're gonna do?
remember.
If she doesn't talk about it, guess what you're gonna say?
Bring it
You'll
back.
bring it up.
You're gonna go, well, what about the bathroom? And here's the thing. If there's stuff that's important to them, did I give her ample opportunity to think about everything that would be important? Like, they're going to think of it. Now, there are times that they will forget. I don't wanna say they're not gonna forget.
Nervous or not thinking about it right
Yes.
away or like.
That's possible. But it's okay. If she does forget it, it will show up. So my point in saying that is, so I'll pick on Taylor for a second. So kitchen was important to you. What if Taylor sits down to do this with a client and they never mention the kitchen? Guess what is gonna be killing you inside? Is you wanna be like, but what about the kitchen? Because that's, like, I'm that way with the garage. I'd be like, wait, what about the garage? Like, but you gotta just remember, if it's important, they'll bring it up. If it's not, they won't. Now, if they forgot for some reason, it will show up along the way. It will. And it might be when we're out looking at a house, but guess what they're gonna do? Is they're gonna apologize to you for it. Like, they're gonna be like, oh, Hannah, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot when we sat down and talked about this.
Educated buddy.
Like, yeah, but they're gonna just, like, you don't have to worry about, it's not gonna be any reflection on you if you miss it. They're gonna be like, I totally blew it, like, I forgot to mention this to you.
You did your
Oh.
end.
Hey, Andy, is that Andy Schoenfeld? Which Andy is on there? We can't hear you. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you, so maybe he's not really there. I was gonna have him, if it's Andy that I think it's Andy, I was gonna have you, Andy, so if it is you and you can, come up if you can and talk about your experience with this, cause he uses this all the time. Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. What were we saying?
That if they forget to bring it up.
Oh yeah, you don't have to worry about it. It'll come up later on or whatever. Now, so here's the thing, is that's why it's blank, is because we only wanna deal with the stuff they're gonna give us. I don't wanna create issues. But if I had it listed, each feature here, you would then want to ask, you'll feel like, well, I gotta fill in the boxes, so tell me about the bathrooms. And if I said that to you, she didn't bring it up, tell me about the bathrooms.
I mean.
See, like all of a sudden she's kinda like, I mean, it's not that important, but they'll tell you something, and guess what? If it's important to you, you're gonna then go out and guess what you're gonna talk about at the house is, oh my gosh, you gotta see this bathroom, man, it's so amazing. Well,
Russ,
if it's not one of their 2 or 3, they don't care. Yeah.
I swear I heard my name for half a second there. I just jumped up.
You did. I was trying to get you to come upstairs and to talk about this.
Okay,
Are you willing to?
sure, why not? I'll be right up. I'm in my office.
You're what?
I'm just in my office.
I know, so why are you not up here?
I was prospecting.
Oh, okay. You can keep prospecting, I don't care. Okay, you don't really need to come up, but I was just gonna have you just reinforce that you do this when you sit down with your clients, right?
Every single time. It's by far the best thing and the most fun thing that we do. Specifically, I don't know if you talked about it, is when there's a couple in there, where you tell them that one of them is not allowed to talk while the
Oh, I
other
have-
person tells you all the things that you want.
Thank you, I haven't told them that yet.
That's awesome.
I haven't told them that yet, thank you, I would have forgotten.
Yeah, that's where you actually create a lot of rapport with people. Is they feel heard, you're asking questions, and if there's a couple in there, it makes it way better that you don't let one of them talk when the other person's asking, and then you flip flop it, because one of them will inevitably have 3 or 4 things that are important, and the other one will have 50 things that are important to them. It seems like so.
Cool, thank you. Okay, so yes, I forgot to say that part. So if you're sitting down with a couple, you're going to say to them, so I would be saying, okay, Ronnie, I'm gonna go first, and then once I'm done, then Anna, you'll get your turn to share. But while he's talking, the rule is you don't get to say anything. But then when she's talking, you don't get to say anything, okay? Deal? Okay, and then I'm gonna say, okay, Ronnie, describe for me your ideal home. And then he's gonna go blah, 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 blah. And inevitably, like Andy's saying, one of the other spouse will be like, you never told me that, or no, but what about this? And then you jokingly is the way no, you'll remember, you'll get your turn. He gets to go first, and then you'll get to do your turn or whatever, so.
Is there
But-
someone that who would you ask first if it's a couple?
So, it's interesting, because one of the people that trained me in this, this is the way she trained it. I found I don't necessarily do it this way, but the way she trained it is if you're male, go with the male first. If you're female, go with the female first. I actually have found that for me, when I do the bio part where I just say, hey, before we get going, let me tell you a little bit about me, now tell me a little bit about you. I usually kind of try to see who takes the lead in that. And then that person is who I usually go first. Andy, how do you decide?
I would say most of the time the lady goes first, just
Yeah.
because it's hard for him to not say stuff, and that's where the jokes come in, and you can really, again, it's not so important that they don't say anything as it's an opportunity for me to create rapport and really create trust. Like, hey, this was what we did. She gets to say whatever she wants, and it can be as ridiculous as you want. And then inevitably, at least in my experience, usually she'll have 5 to 10 things, and he'll have 3 things. He's like, I want walls and a roof and a bedroom, and that's it, right?
Because
And
she was
it's
first.
just hilarious to play it off. But yeah, usually the lady first.
Yeah, and I would say I found typically it is the woman that usually goes first, but I don't know that it matters. That, like, if you wanted to do it that way of just, hey, I'm gonna have her go first and then you, that works.
I feel like if the woman goes first, brings up things, then the guys get backstep and probably not even bring up certain things based on.
So, and then that's fine. If then for you, I would say always have him go first then. Like, I think that's
Well,
totally.
yeah, you can choose. I'm just saying, like, that could definitely change the game, in my.
Yeah, it depends, it just depends on the couple, yeah, for sure. So, okay, so I'm gonna get as much information as I can, which is what you saw me do with Anna. Then once they say that's about it, then I'm gonna transition then, we're gonna move then from our directives over here to tool number 2. So think of it as this was tool number 1. Tool number 2, which I need to erase. Every time I do this on the board, I realize like I should think it through before I should write stuff smaller and then chronological order, but sorry. So tool number 2 is what we call modifiers. But there's one thing we're gonna do before we get to the modifiers. So, in fact, let me even get a different colored marker. So, once we have filled the grid, that's what I call this, is filling the grid. Once I have filled the grid, what I would have done if I was actually taking notes while Anna was doing it, which is why you wanna take notes so you don't miss stuff like I did, is you wanna stop and look at this to see, okay, did she give me a ton of information? Because there are some people that will be like, describe for me your ideal home. And I'll give you one the most extreme example I've ever seen. And I wasn't part of it, but it was an agent that I trained. The guy sat down and said, here's what happened. She sat down with him and the agent said, so describe for me your ideal home. And he said, it would be a 10-minute walk from the University of Utah, my office at the University of Utah. And she was like, okay, what else? That's it. And so she met with him, did that, and then came back to me and she's like, what do I do? Because like I said, describe your ideal home, and he said 10-minute walk from the University of Utah, and that's it. That's all I could get out of him. And I said, okay, well then here's what you do. To find out is in his price range, go find 3 or 4 properties that are within a 10-minute walk of his office at the University of Utah. And
Get different types of ones even maybe.
I just said, just see what's out there. So she went and found, there was only like 2. And so she said to me, there's like 2 properties. And I said, okay, here's what you do then, is go show him those 2. If he buys one, you're good. If he doesn't, then you need to say, okay, there's obviously some things that I missed. And that's how I always do it, is I take responsibility. If the first properties I go show them, that however many, 3 or 4, they don't buy, I always at the end go, hey, I am so sorry. Like, I don't want to waste your time. I go back to this. I don't want to waste your time showing you properties that don't work for you. And I obviously didn't do a good enough job in finding out. So help me understand, what did I miss? So that's what I told this agent, is I said, go show him properties. If he buys one, great. If he doesn't, then say, hey, you know, I want to make sure that I'm being valuable with your time. I don't want to waste your time. So help me understand, what did I miss? What else do we need in the property? She says, okay. So she drives him, goes to the first house. He walks in and is like, yep, this will work. Let's write an offer. Now, what she found out afterwards is he was a professor at the University of Utah, and he was doing research at the University of Utah, and he was single and basically was sun up to sundown doing his research. That's 7 days a week. That's all he did. He needed a place to go sleep and shower. That's it. And the reason he wanted a 10-minute walk is he actually liked to ride his bike. But he's like, in the winter, I'm not going to be able to ride my bike, and I don't want to be walking more than 10 minutes in the freezing cold to get to my office. That was it. That's all he cared about. So I always want to say, stop and look to make sure you got a ton of information here. And then once you can see you've gotten good information. So if I didn't, so like, I might have wanted to say, okay, you mentioned the finished basement, tell me more about that. And then she would have said, what she already told us is, I've been trying to get my husband at how long?
Well, we lived there for 3 years at 3.
Okay, she'd say, well, I've been trying to get him to finish it for 3 years and he hasn't finished it yet and blah, blah, blah. And so I just want to find one that's already finished, and I'm like, okay, cool, what else? And if there's anything else. Now, when you go back and get a little more fine, like notice in the beginning, this here, describe for me your ideal home, leaves it wide open. Just describe your ideal home. Give me whatever you want to give me. As I write it down, I might zone in a little bit. If I feel like, she was giving me a lot of good information, so I don't know that I would have worried about it. But if she wasn't, then I would have looked at this. So like with Ronnie, what were some of the features you said?
Fenced backyard,
Yeah.
the dogs, and I think
Location.
location on the mountain.
Yeah, so I would have probably with him, because he wasn't talking as much, I would have said, hey, you mentioned the fenced backyard, tell me more. And then he would have talked about that, and then I would have said, okay, you mentioned the location, tell me more about the location. So like, I'm gonna just try to keep getting more information on it. Okay, now, once I've done that though, then before we go over to modifiers, I am then gonna have him rank or her rank. So I'm gonna have them rank them. So now, this is what that would have looked like. So with Anna, she was talking, and I would have said, hey, you've done a really good job, Anna. I've got a really good picture of what your home's gonna look like. Of everything we talked about, so I'm gonna ask you, of everything we talked about, what are the 2 or the 3 that would be the most important?
Mountain view. More cabinets in the kitchen
Okay.
and the bigger garage.
Did I even write? Oh yeah, right there. Okay, now, so notice how I'm doing this strategically. So of those 3, which one would be most important?
The garage,
Garage, and then what's number 2?
kitchen.
Okay, so now notice how I did this. I did this in a methodical way. Instead of me saying, I'm gonna do a little bit of a test here to see how well I've trained you. This is not a test on you, it's a test on me. Why would I not have just said to her, okay, of everything you told me, which one is most important? Which one's second most important? Which one's third most important? And then stopped. Why did I not do it that way? Instead, I said, of everything we've talked about, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important?
Too many options.
Say that again.
Too many options.
What do you mean by that?
If I give you a list of 10 things, give me the most
Perfect.
important, it's like,
You're making them choose
choose one.
3 of the things and maybe they're all important.
Yeah, so that's, well, good, here's part of it. If I just said, give me 1, 2, and 3, how many am I gonna get?
Might
3.
be, yeah.
I'm gonna get 3. But if I say, give me the 2 or the 3 that are most important, what's the message that's conveying?
Like, I understand there's more than one thing that matters to you, but give me.
You're helping them,
No, you're good.
sorry. So you're letting them know that this is all important. You understand that this is all important to them. You're just, helping them prioritize.
Good. And by saying 2 or 3, remember, the reason I'm saying 2 or 3 is they're gonna buy in 2 or 3. So I need 2 or 3, but what if there's 4? If I said, give me the 2 or 3, but there's 4, what's she gonna, let's just assume there was that 3 and 4 were tied for you. And I said, so just make that up now, okay?
Okay.
So give me the 2 or 3 that are most important.
Okay, the garage, kitchen, the view, and the backyard.
See, so if she did that, guess how many I'm gonna do now?
4.
4. See, that's why you do 2 or 3, because if I say, give me the 2 or 3 that are most important, and she only gives me 2, well then she's telling me there's only 2 benefits she has to have. But if she did it the way she just did there, where I said, give me the 2 or 3, and she listed 4, I might be like, oh, so she might actually need 4 benefits to actually. Sometimes they might go, because I said 2 or 3, she might be, Mountain View and the basement are kind of, I don't know which one. Like if they started going, I'm not sure which one is more important, the basement or the Mountain View, I'm gonna go, guess what? We'll do both of them then. Like, that works for me. But I don't want more than, I've never had more than, somebody do more than 4. Like, 4 is kind of extreme. So, I'm saying, give me the 2 or 3 that are most important. She then gave me the 2 or the 3. Then after that is when I said, okay, of those, which one is most important? So now, notice I'm just kind of slowly forcing her into ranking them. Does that make sense? So I started with, hey, give me what's the 2 or the 3 that are most important. Once she did that, now I'm going, okay, of those, and if she would have only given me 2, I would have said, okay, which one is number 1 then? And she was saying, okay, garage. Okay, great. So then now what I'm gonna do next then. So now we're gonna go into modifiers. Modifiers are who, what, when, where, and how. Now you'll notice I left one out. What did I leave out?
Why?
Write it down.
Who,
Why?
what, when, where, how,
Why?
Why?
and that's intentional. The reason is, remember I had the three things listed up here at the feature, then I wrote down what you're gonna use the feature for and why? The why is what's gonna cause crystallization. But if you ask why too soon, the answer you're gonna get is, oh, it'd just be great. It's what we want. It's just what we need. So you don't wanna ask why at this point.
Don't ask how, or ask
Well, no, you can
why.
ask how.
That's why, so don't ask why.
Just don't ask why do you want that kitchen? Don't ask that during this, because if you do, the answer you're gonna get is, it's just what I want. It's just perfect, it'd be just what I need. Now, unless, if they've already crystallized, you could ask why. But you don't know that yet, and it's better to hold off on the, well, why do you want it, until after you've done this, okay? So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this number one that she did, which was the garage here, and I'm not gonna actually physically do a separate box like I'm doing right now. I would just do it on my paper still. But I'm gonna go to the garage and I'm gonna say, okay, perfect. And let's talk about the garage, okay? And what I'm gonna do now with the garage is I'm gonna start with another directive and then come down here to the modifiers. So just like we did here from directive to modifier, I'm gonna do the same thing, but with that one feature. So this is what it's gonna look like, is I'm gonna say, okay, Ann, you mentioned the garage and storage for the garage. Picture yourself, now notice, I'm doing a directive here, but I'm giving a specific directive of, I'm now telling her brain, picture yourself in the garage, tell me what you see. So that's how I'm gonna start this on this feature, is I'm saying, okay, picture yourself in the garage, tell me what you see. Now, when we do the kitchen, I'm gonna do the same thing. Picture yourself in the kitchen, tell me what you see. So, picture yourself in the garage
That I want or that I have,
of what you want.
what I want.
So picture yourself in the garage, tell me what you see.
3-car garage.
And then what I'm gonna be doing is keeping notes too, so, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, tall enough, cause my husband's truck's got lift.
Say that again.
My husband's truck has a lift, so
Oh,
it
his
just-
truck has a lift, okay.
Yeah, it just needs to be one of those, not the well, an RV would be cool, but not necessarily an RV tall, but, we just need a 3-car garage, we just need a more spacious one.
Okay. Sure, what else?
At least some of the ones that I've seen, the 3rd-car garage is the deeper one.
Mm-hmm.
So a deeper one would be cool, cause then you could set up a shop if we don't have enough, space in the backyard.
Okay, perfect.
And that's all I can think of.
Okay, perfect, no, that's great. Okay, so now, what we wanna do is, I'm hesitant since he left. I was like, remember we were supposed to take a break together? That's okay, I'm actually panicking because I'm looking at the clock going, ooh, we still got a lot to cover. Okay. I'm only hesitant because he's gonna come back and go, wait, what are you doing?
You just wanna take a 3-minute break?
Can you guys do it 3 minutes?
Oh, we tried it.
Okay,
Sorry, I had to go to the bathroom.
well, I know, I just said, we were supposed to say I need a break and then we would all take it.
Oh, I just figured I'd go real quick.
Well, I know, we would all do it. What if they need to pee?
Oh, my bad.
What if I need to? No,
about me.
I'm good. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. So now I've said, picture yourself there, tell me what you see. She's starting to tell me. Now, I want you guys to help me. So Ronnie and Taylor, you guys help me now. And I should have told you this before. So we're gonna rewind. We're gonna do it again, okay? But let me tell you guys, and you guys on Zoom can do this too. Pay attention as she talks now of what questions should we ask that are who, what, when, where, or how questions about the garage. And ideally, you wanna ask them based on what she talks about, but it doesn't have to be, okay? So, picture yourself in the garage, tell me what you see.
3-car garage. The one that one of them is like deeper in. Just really a spacious garage.
Okay, perfect. So now, based on that, so she had said 3 cars, she said it needed to be tall too. More space and the deeper side. What questions, we can ask any question we want, and I want you guys to come up with some of them. Any question you want, it just has to start with who, what, when, where, or how. So you can ask anything you want.
Okay, so-
Now, remember what we're doing now actually is this tool here is designed around figuring out what are the decisions that she's made about this feature. So what questions could we ask that are who, what, when, where, or how?
You could ask questions about the cars, like what type of vehicles do they drive?
Okay, perfect. So what kind of vehicles do you have?
We have a sedan and a lifted truck, but my husband loves dirt bikes and like 4-wheelers and those kinds of toys. And we have a trailer too, but we have to keep it at my in-laws because we can't fit it. So it's just like a toy hauler.
Okay,
So yeah, just multiple little dirt
good
bikes.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, so now sometimes her answer will create other questions too. That one did for me a few, but so what other questions? And you guys on Zoom, feel free to unmute, you can participate as well.
I would ask, like what kind of things are you trying to store in the garage? What kind of space
Okay,
would you need?
If we can fit the trailer in the garage, cool, but it's mainly, if we can't have a yard with a shop, then it would be a shop in the garage. And it'd be cool if it was tall, because my husband would love to have one of those like those things that lift the car up to fix under it. Yeah, it's just a lot of, it's mainly parking the truck, car, toys, and having a shop set up for him.
okay, good.
I would ask, if you're gonna try to maybe do a shop in there, how many people would be
Okay,
parking
I was gonna
in
say,
the
just make
garage?
sure it starts with one of these. So, you're good, how many?
How many people would be parking in the garage, if
Uh,
you're trying to do a shop in there possibly?
Well, if we can't have the deeper one, then we'd have the truck and the car parked in there. The bikes don't take
See,
that much
notice what
space.
she's doing.
Picturing.
She's picturing, and she's telling us, this is the decisions of how we would do it. So sorry, I hate
I
interrupting
was
it,
kinda
but keep
trying to
going.
help her, like,
Yeah,
keep
no.
this here, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
good.
like mapping out, I'm like, hey, here's where the
Yeah,
truck's gonna
it's,
go.
no, that's what
You
I
don't
want.
even know what the garage looks like, you're like,
That's what we want her doing, so it's perfect. You're doing great.
Yeah, so we have the truck, the car parked in there, the bikes don't take up that much space. So if we could have the deeper one, then the shop would be back there, cause he fix cars, carpenter, welder, all of the above. So he needs just, yeah, a big table. Yeah.
so I guess I have to start with.
Yeah, you gotta, it has to start with one of these, or you can't, here's why. If you ask something that is not one of these, you're probably gonna ask a yes, no question.
Okay,
And I don't want-
yeah, that's kind of where I would still
Right.
head though, because I would be like,
Yep.
well, what about a trailer, or what about a side cement lot for putting your trailer in, so now you have more garage
So-
space.
Yeah.
Like a pad on the side for your trailer, and
So you
have more
could-
room in your garage.
you
I
could-
don't wanna throw suggestions necessarily. but-
Yeah, you could say, what would your thoughts be if there was a RV pad on the
RV,
side or
yeah,
something?
that's-
You could say, what would your thoughts be on that, that's okay. Okay, what else? What else would you ask?
Hey, Russ.
Go ahead, yes.
So in my case there in Park City, asking them whether it's gonna be a rental, an investment property, or if they're gonna be living there, would that come into different questions, I mean, as far as, what they plan on doing with a short-term rental, as far as a long-term rental, or,
So are you asking, let me make sure I'm are you asking like if you don't know or if you already do know?
Well, yeah, if we don't know, like, you know, I had a showing yesterday at one of the properties there, in Park City.
Um,
You know, the buyer, you know, you're dealing with their questions. As far as, you know, if they're gonna be living there or if they're gonna be in, you know, if it's an investment property, short-term rental. It takes those questions to different routes.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I get where you're coming from. So for me, I feel like you're probably gonna know that before you sit down with them to take them through this process.
Okay,
I think you're going to. And if you don't, when you say to them, describe for me your ideal home, they'll probably tell you at that point. At that point is when they would probably say, well, we're looking to buy this as an investment or whatever. So, but I feel like you're probably gonna know, my experience is I know that before I've even sat down with them to, and it could be exactly like the experience. Are you talking about you showed David's property or you showed a different one?
no, I showed David's property. And
Okay,
it was,
cool.
you
Yeah,
know,
so,
a buyer that came in there. I don't know what they're doing, but you know, when the agent comes in for them and says, you know, what can you tell us about this? I don't want to start pitching it as, you know, a home residence when they're looking at it as a rental. I guess I should
Gotcha.
get that from the agent, you know, beforehand.
yeah, that's what I would say. So, but yeah, if you're showing it to somebody who doesn't have an agent though, I would say during the showing, was where I would be asking those type of questions.
Okay.
And then if they want to write an offer on your listing, then great, who cares? Don't sit down and do this. But if they don't, if they're like, yeah, this doesn't quite work for us, that's when I'd say, well, let's do this. Let's schedule a time when we can sit down, spend 45 minutes, an hour, and I can hear more about what it is you're wanting to accomplish, and then I can help you. Whew. Sorry, thought I was gonna sneeze, but apparently I'm not. So anyway, that's how I would recommend you doing it, is if you're showing your listing, ask questions, but you're not trying to do this while showing the listing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Cool.
you.
You bet. Okay, what other questions? What other who, what, when, where, how questions? I was worried I said why, so I was like slowing down. What other who, what, when, where, how?
Who will be using the walk-in closet?
No, only on the garage,
Only
right?
in the garage right now?
Yep, once we identify
Just going one
this
thing
one,
or another.
until we land on a benefit, we're not leaving this one. So what other questions? Here's the other thing I would say to think about is anytime they make comments like tall, what does tall mean? Like, tall means something different to you than it does to me, and to you than it does to me, and probably different to her. Like, she said that she mentioned that her husband has a lifted truck, how high? Like, so that's the kind of stuff we want to find out. So I would ask them, so you mentioned that you needed a taller garage.
Need a taller garage for that.
So how tall does it need to be?
Question for him.
So, which, by the way, sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't know an exact size. So let me give you a quick story on that. Had a lady one time that she said, I need a big kitchen. Now, if somebody says to you, I need a big kitchen, how big, you guys tell me in relation to this room, what's a big kitchen? And everybody give me an answer.
Like,
This would be a humongous kitchen.
yeah.
Okay, but so this would be humongous, but how big would it have to be big?
I mean, for me, if it has more than 5 cabinets, that's gigantic.
Okay, so notice that, if it has more than 5 cabinets, it's gonna be gigantic. So how big would be a big kitchen?
Maybe like 2/3 this size.
Okay, so 2/3 the size, how big would a big kitchen for you be?
Probably something similar to that.
Okay, so yeah, so for me, same type of a thing. But here's what happened, which was similar to actually what you just said. I said to the person, hey, you mentioned you wanted a big kitchen. How big is the big kitchen? And she said, well, I don't really know like dimensions. And I said, well, that's fine. We were in a conference room and I was like, just in this conference room, like in relation to this, how big would a big kitchen be? I kid you not. She said, probably like that. Does that look like a big kitchen to you guys?
It's like me.
So you notice that.
When they
Anna's like, well, that actually would be big. That'd be great. See, that's anytime they say stuff like it needs a lot of windows. Okay, well, you gotta find out from them, what's their definition of a lot of windows? Cause remember, otherwise what happens is you take your assumption of what it means. And then what happens is she said she wants a big kitchen, you guys, me too, we're looking for one 2/3 the size of this room, and she's like, well, that'd be like too big, I just need like that. So notice that anytime they say stuff like, it needs to have a lot of windows, it needs to have a big this or a gigantic whatever, large windows. If they said large windows, what's your definition of a large window? Like, and I don't say it like that, obviously, but I say, okay, you mentioned large, like what would be a large window? And again, sometimes people will say it needs to have a ton of windows. This would be a ton of windows to me.
Yeah.
If somebody says that. But for them, it might be, well, it just needs 2, or it's, one big one that's, whatever. Like, at the end of the day, it's probably like, it just needs to be able to let enough light into the house that, or, whatever it is. Anytime they say stuff like that on this, it needs to have a big countertop. Okay, well, how big is a big countertop? Like, it needs to have lots of cabinets. See, well, I already know the answer now, but if I said, how many cabinets is a lot of cabinets? And then she already told us, more than 5, right? So notice that though, notice when she says something like a big kitchen, you're gonna think one thing, she actually might think something totally different.
Yeah, when I think big, I think of like, be able to walk around easy, stuff isn't congested, I don't necessarily think like humongous, I just think big is like easily movable.
Perfect, but what's most important is what does she think?
Right, yeah.
it is. Because
Well,
once
that's what I would ask though, be like, when you say big, do you mean, something open, easy to walk through, or do
Say-
you mean like?
let me change one thing though. Instead of giving her options, which is what you just did, which is why I said, so say that again, but it has to, so cause you said, when you say that, did you mean, just ask it again, but ask it using one of these.
So, where in the kitchen is it that you feel like you need space?
That would be fine, yeah. So the hard part is what we don't wanna do, and all of us do it, is we start to give them options. Do you want this or do you want that? And they might not want either of them. Like, it's, again, that makes it more about you, cause you already said, for me, this is what it means. And so we tend to then wanna ask the question that's about you rather than just saying, okay, you mentioned spacious, tell me what spacious looks like to you.
Okay, yeah, you could frame it that way.
Yeah, that's how you want to frame it. Yeah, is you gotta make it about them, and I know this might be a little nitpicky, but I'm telling you, that's how they have this experience of you're not listening to me, you wasted my time, because we end up talking about what's important to us rather than, hey, so who's gonna use it? How are you gonna use it? Where's it gonna be? So that's the other thing too, though, let me point out, is all of these things, you can always ask, like for the garage, in relation to the rest of the house, where would it be? So, and it may or may not matter, so in relation to the rest of the house, where would it be?
If I can be real picky, it's on the side, but if it's on the front, it's fine.
So what did she just tell me? Like, yes, she told me she'd prefer the side to the front, like, but,
Where she wants the kitchen.
well, but in general though, what did she tell me? It doesn't matter that much. Like, ideally it would be here, but it would be okay. So part of what you're listening for as you're talking to people is that kind of stuff, because the other thing she brought up earlier too is about if the backyard has a shed. So this is where, so let me help you on this. This is where what happens is sometimes people will say, I need a 3-car garage, and then they go buy a 2-car garage, and then the agent comes back to the office and says, buyers are liars. They told me they wanted a 3-car garage, and then they bought a house with a 2-car garage. Well, what the agent didn't realize is, well, why did they want a 3-car garage? And if they said, we need a place to store all of the, like, cause if she said she wanted a 3-car garage, and I said, well, what would your thoughts be if we found a 2-car garage, but it had a huge shed in the back that your husband could store all of his motorcycles and stuff in?
Oh, that'd be the dream.
But aren't you giving them options though?
Well,
You just gave them options.
No, I'm just sorry. Yes, I'm giving her an option, but I'm asking, what would your thoughts be if, so remember earlier you were saying like it doesn't exist?
Yeah,
This is when you could bring into something, if she was like saying, I want a 6-car garage and I only can afford 400,000. That's gonna be like, well, what would your thoughts be then if we found this? So it's okay to ask them, what would your thoughts be on something? Cause that's how I'm figuring out, is there a different way to meet this benefit? Does that make sense? Alright,
There's a fine line there a little bit.
yeah, well, and I'm training it more strictly than it really is. Intentionally,
Right.
because otherwise, because what's the whole point of us doing all this?
Narrowing down the
See, you guys have
benefits.
forgotten already.
Crystallization.
I'm like, you guys have forgotten already. The whole point is I gotta cause them to crystallize. And the way we do it is through our communication, and we have to do it in such a way that they discover it on their own, rather, and I'm helping with that facilitated. So yes, I'm being a little nitpicky on it for sure, but I'm doing it because if you don't get them to crystallize, you got a lot of good information, but that's it.
I would just look at it as like, I know you say don't give them options, but not necessarily giving it is an option, but it's maybe putting something out there they hadn't thought about.
So, and I'm good with that as long as you say, what would your thoughts be if,
If you frame it, it's the way you frame it.
it's how you frame it, rather than, what I just don't want you doing is saying, so do you want this or do you want that? Like, I don't, if you do it that way, that's no different than, to me, this is why, I guess, that's the way I'd say it. It's no different than me saying to you, if you wanna know what's going on a mile down the road, you're gonna ask your giraffe or a turtle. And you guys, 2 out of the 3 of you, gave me an answer, but it wasn't really relevant.
Yeah, there was no none of the above option.
Well, but that's the point. If you say to somebody, do you want this or this, and you don't give them a third option, guess what they're gonna pick? That's my point.
Yeah, I get it.
That's why I'm saying is you don't wanna, you wanna be careful with it is probably the way to say it. Cause there's gonna be exceptions to all of this. But the thing is the way that you and I have been trained to communicate blocks crystallization from occurring. And so I'm just trying to help you, show you the path, and I'm being very picky on it for sure. Because if you don't cause the crystallization, you don't save yourself any time. You got some good information though. So, okay, we good on this? So here's what I'm gonna do is, now remember, I'm still on this garage.
So,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
so how do you know when to stop doing the modifiers?
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna do, and again, I'm giving you a number, but there's not really a number. But I'm gonna tell you, you need to do 5 to 7 questions here.
For their priorities?
Yes, for just, so 5 to 7 of this, and we're not gonna move to this until we've landed on our benefit here.
Okay.
So, but yeah, typically it's gonna take 5 to 7. I will tell you, there are sometimes I might ask 12 questions. The key thing is that, are they picturing it? Do they picture it? Like, and she was using her hands again, like when they're doing that, they're picturing it, they're doing what I want them to do, they're on their way to crystallization. So there's not a magic number to this, it's really, it is twofold. One is, it's the biggest, most important is she gonna crystallize? But secondary to that is what Ronnie's talking about, is I need to find out, like, I gotta go find this property that's gonna meet these needs. So I do need to ask enough questions to help me figure that out. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so I've asked, and the reason I always train it as 5 to 7, again, there are times when I've done it that I've only had to ask 1 or 2 because they've already described it in such detail that there's no other questions to ask. But I'm gonna just tell you most of the time agents don't ask enough is probably the way to say it, which is why I say 5 to 7 is how many you should do. But there might be times you do 10 or 15 even, like it just depends on how it's going. I would just say ask enough that they're picturing it and you can tell that they are picturing it.
So essentially enough that you're capable of accurately describing the benefit they're looking for in that figure?
Well, that they will be able to tell me the benefit. Cause see, if you, so this is the way to summarize it. Remember I said we're not gonna ask why here?
Mhm.
We're about to ask the why question now.
Okay.
And when I ask the why question, if Anna doesn't say one of the 15 benefit words, or talk around it, like describe it, then I didn't ask enough of these. That's how you're gonna know, so that just FYI. If you ask the why too soon, they're gonna say stuff like, oh, it would just be perfect. It'd be just what I need. And if they say that, they're not describing one of the benefit words or saying one of them. Therefore, you gotta go back and ask more questions. And that's okay, you can do that.
So, real quick, we talked about the couple, we got the wife and the husband, they each given their priorities. How did we come to the top three between
Oh, good.
those two? Like,
Yep.
how did they come to the decision of what's their top three together?
Oh, they're gonna be different, probably. More than likely.
But, okay, so you're just gonna keep them separate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
So you
so,
don't try to combine them into?
Nope.
Okay.
nope. So, and even though it is possible, that's a great question. It is possible that they both have the kitchen or the garage, let's say, as their top feature.
Mhm.
But the benefit that it provides, more than likely will be different for each of them, even though it's the same feature. So yeah, that was a great question. Okay, so now that I've asked these, we're now gonna come over to tool number 3, which is what we call the tag. Okay? Oops. The tag is what does blank mean to you? Or why is blank important? Okay? So, now we've been doing this very disjointed, so I recognize that. But we'll see how, like typically if you're sitting down with a client, you're not having all these interruptions in the process, so it flows better. But the next thing that I would do then is I would be saying, okay, Anna, I've got a pretty good feel for the garage. Let me ask you, what does having a garage like that, what does it mean to you?
That's like my main hangout space, and we like to hang out together in that area whenever he's working on something or sit there. So it's more of like, it's like quality time for us.
Oh, interesting. I did not see that coming. That was not, and it's okay. Like, that doesn't matter what I thought, but this is why we asked them, because I thought for sure this was gonna be back to the convenience. I thought, that's where I thought we were gonna
Say more
go.
like, hey, make sure everybody, is out of the snow when it's winter time in their parking garage, or.
Yeah, but notice that's not what it was about.
No.
So
That might be what it is about for my husband.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But for you, it's about what?
Quality time.
Yeah,
Get
which,
more space to hang out.
okay, so she's describing one of the benefit words. What does that sound like she's talking about? If she's saying have quality time?
Want plenty of space out there to.
Well, no, forget about that. What is she trying to accomplish with that?
Making your garage a more of a livable area.
No, forget that. For her, what does it do for her, having that
Like the
space?
Back to convenience?
Well, no, because she's talking about what's another way of talking about quality time with her husband?
It's a love language.
Yeah, thank you. That's ultimately, so the other benefit, which I know that made it harder for you guys because you don't know all the benefit words, but love. The reason she wants the garage like that is the way that she can spend time with him, which is how she can either show him that she loves him or feel loved by him, one of the two, right?
My mind did not go there on that one.
Now you know why we have to, so now here's the thing. Once we know what the benefit of the garage is, when I go show properties to her, I am not gonna talk about any of this stuff. Instead, when we go look at a house and we go into the garage, what I'm gonna say to Anna is, does this look like a place that you could spend some quality time? What's your husband's name? Garrett. Does this look like a place you could spend quality time with Garrett? See, I'm talking about the quality time, not the feature. Because that's what she's buying. She's not buying the garage, she's buying the quality time of being able to spend the time. Now, if we go look at a house and I say, does this garage look like it would give you the space to spend that quality time together? And she says, not really, then I'm gonna go, okay, so what needs to be differently then for that? Because that, now it
You
needs,
gotta fit all this stuff in the garage that she wants in there, and a shop, and storage, and,
you gotta quit worrying about that. She's not worried about that.
well, you're still find a property that's gonna accommodate all those things that she
Only-
wants, and if
but hold
that's
on.
not feasible, then.
Only if that's what's gonna give her the feeling. But she has to decide that.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like don't get caught up in the feature. Cause it's not about,
logical about it.
Yes.
Like, well, you told
You want a million things in the garage, and I'm like, well, like, you know what I mean?
but she doesn't need all those million things. What she needs is to be able to see in the garage, yes, I'm gonna be able to go out and spend quality time while
So
he's
are you-
working on
Are
something.
you saying forget all the storage she needs, all the cars she needs in
Not
the garage?
really,
Cause you're
no.
gonna need like space for a shop.
That is the
Maybe
challenge.
my mind is going somewhere else.
That is the challenge. No, I can't go show her a tiny garage that has no space. You're right.
You might have to
But-
like
That's the
upscale, you're gonna have to
baseline.
upscale to like almost the size of a home to get a
No,
bigger garage.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's where you're missing it. Is you don't have to do, you're stuck in this. It's not about that, it's about this. Now, you're right. No, hold on, you're right from the standpoint of like, if I go show her a one-car garage, that's not gonna work. But it also probably doesn't have to be as big as you're thinking. But here's the key. She gets to decide it. Don't worry about it. That my answer is like, think about, like, yes, it's gotta be tall enough to fit the truck or whatever, like, I mean,
And a car lift, and, you know what I mean, like,
Well,
we
no,
think
hold on.
off like a multitude of things.
this is where you're, okay, I got it. Would you buy it if it doesn't have a car lift, but if,
Yeah.
yeah, see, don't get caught up in everything they say. Forget everything they said, sort of. I mean,
But
So
dude,
would it be like a baseline of like, okay, it sounds like she needs to fit like what an average 3-car garage would be. So that's the baseline of like, okay, let's start off with the 2-car garage, a shed in the back, a pad to park on. Cause, you know, going off of the baseline, okay, these are the basic things that I need to fit. But the main thing that we're looking for is a hangout spot. So as in like, the logical side, basic enough for the 3 vehicles, but not logical enough of like, okay, it's not tall enough, is it,
yeah, that's the challenge on this is, what you gotta keep in mind is, she doesn't need every single thing that she said there to give her that. Part of it
so
is,
do you have a discussion of minimizing things though then? Because earlier you said don't do that, so how do you get to that point of like, okay, well,
no, I just am not gonna worry about it. Like, at the end of the day, for me, all I'm gonna do is go try to find a garage that, probably a 3-car garage is gonna be sufficient. Now, with that being said, yes, you're gonna somewhat do this, but I'm not worried if it has a lift. Like,
or if you could install one even, like it's not.
yeah, but, yeah,
it seemed important at the beginning, and now it's just dropping.
but that's the, yes, thank you, that's the key. Once they land on this is what's important, not the garage. The garage facilitates this, so this is no different, let me see if I can help you this way.
No, I see what you're saying, I think I'm just like.
Hold on, I wanna make sure though, because this is no different than I want the home high on a hill with a view. And if you got caught up in, but wait, they wanted a view of the city lights, cause I said I wanted a home with a view of the city lights, but I bought one in the canyon surrounded by nothing but trees.
But that's what I mean by find out what they really want, before you just go waste your time finding huge garages that are way too big, or, you know
So,
what I mean, like, I'm
yes.
just looking at a game plan.
So, and I'm good, once you land on this, I'm fine if you then ask those other questions. If you wanna say, what would you think, yeah, that's probably the best way
Once
for me
you've
to answer.
landed on the heart of why they want it, then you can come back and like, say, do you really want this or that? I mean, I know you shouldn't say, do you really, but
Yeah,
there's
just
gonna
say
be
what,
things fall off, clearly, we just watched it happen.
that's right. But the key thing is, this is what's important, I just wanna make sure you understand, this is what's important,
Yeah.
not the garage.
Right, okay, wow.
Like, it's possible that she accepts one that doesn't even have a garage really, if she can still have, this is what's important to her, not the garage.
Okay.
So yes, I'm good with you asking, once you land on this, ask whatever questions you want, I'm good with it. Cause now that she's landed on this, you could just say, okay, so I'm gonna have a hard time finding a garage.
That's all I was getting at, that's all I meant, once
Okay.
you've landed on the heart of why
Yes,
they want it, be like, okay, so you named 100 pipe dreams you wanted, and they're saying, let's go ahead and like, what's really important to you, that's all.
yeah, you're good. Hey Lynn, welcome. She's in California, by the way, so maybe she's not really there.
No, I'm here.
Okay, good to see you, even though I can't really see you. I just saw your name, so good.
I'm working, but thank you. I missed you guys. So I asked John at the Vegas Mike Ferry event, can I please join again? I miss everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. We love having you. So, well,
Thank you.
we used to have offices in California. I mean, there's still offices there, but we used to own them. George and John sold them. And so anyway, Lynn's in California. So yeah, glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we good with, are you understanding this piece of it? So I'm gonna say, what does having that kitchen mean to you? She should either talk around it or say the word. And she didn't initially, how did you say it at first? When I said, what does having that kitchen mean to you?
More space and storage.
Yeah, she was saying more space and
And then we live in
storage.
on
And
convenience.
yeah,
Which
So-
are all, those are all attributes of convenience.
so yeah, which, and then for me is I would be saying, if she would have just kind of left it at that, I would have just said, well, why is having that, the garage with the more space and all that, why is that important? And that's where she's either gonna say the benefit word, or she would have said, it's about spending quality time together. As long as there's enough space for me to be out there while he's working and talking and all of that. So then I can say, okay, so really, now on the 15 benefit words, you don't actually have to say the word. You could, but just know, if she says spending quality time, what she means is that's the way she can show him she loves him and he can show her. So that's ultimately what it is about. So that's why when I go show the property, I'm probably not gonna say, does this garage look like a place that you can share your love for each other? Like, I'm probably not gonna say that. But I'm gonna say, does it look like a place that you can go spend that quality time together? But I'm knowing that's the benefit of it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So once we've landed on that, then I would come over here and go, okay, now, let's talk about the kitchen. Picture yourself in the kitchen. We're not gonna do it, but picture yourself in the kitchen and tell me what you see. She would then go blah, 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 cabinets, blah, 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 this, that. Okay, well, who's gonna use it? How often do you use it? What kinds of things do you cook in there? Where should it be in relation to the rest of the house? How often do you cook? What kinds of things do you cook? Like, I'm just gonna, how many cabinets? What color cabinets? What color's the floor? What color's the wall? How many windows? Like, I'm just asking all of these questions. Then once I have asked enough, then I'm gonna come back to, so what does having that kitchen mean to you? And then she's either gonna say one of the 15 benefit words or talk around one of them to where I could then land on. So do you know what the benefit of the kitchen is for you?
It would be convenience and.
Okay, cause we did talk about that. So that's what would have happened is we would have gotten this, who's gonna use it, where's it gonna be, how many cabinets, what color is the wood, what type of wood, what color's the floor, like anything of that. Who's gonna use it, what do you do in it, how often, how many people do you have come over, all of that kind of stuff. Then I'm gonna go, what does having it mean? And then she would have said, oh, just make it so much more convenient. Boom, there we go, winner. So then I'm gonna come over here, which I didn't do this. On the garage, I would have written love. Then on the kitchen, I'm gonna write convenience. Then I would have said, okay, let's talk about the location. So picture yourself there, tell me what you see. She's gonna tell me what she sees, who's gonna use it, what's it gonna look like, how often are you doing it, blah, blah, blah. Great. What does having that view mean to you? Do you know what that one is?
More peaceful.
Okay, so again, that's not one of the benefit words. So what does having peaceful, what does it do for you?
It's more enjoyable to be surrounded by like nature noises than.
Okay, so when you say that, do you mean it's kind of a
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be comfort then. So just so you guys know. Yeah, if comfort's the word that we would use for the benefit, is it's comfort. But sometimes people don't relate to that, so that's where they will say peaceful. So I just wanna make sure though, when she says peaceful, that it's the, that's like, think of it as creature comfort is what she's talking about, okay? All right, questions? I got about 2 more days worth of this to cover with you.
So are you gonna give us the list of?
Yes, yeah, so I've got it right here.
I still think you gotta be careful about painting yourself into it.
Trust me, you're gonna be fine. If you land on the benefit, they're ready to go. You know, yes, you gotta somewhat find it, but it doesn't have to be like ideal. It can be a picture, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay,
I just looked at the list.
and,
How are you gonna get sex out of?
okay, remember, look up at remember I had you guys, I told you I wrote down and said that you
Hey, you wanted
say some of
blood,
the-
you wanted blood in the garage, so.
could say some of the things might make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
We really probably should, the permission should be, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions, and some of them might make me uncomfortable. Are you gonna be okay with that? But, so I've only had that come up twice, actually,
Okay.
where, but, so I'll give you an example of that.
Okay.
So it was a guy from Park City, and, sat down with him. So it used to be, years ago, I did a training of this where, part of graduating from the training program was the agents had to actually meet with a real client or potential client and take them through this process with me listening and watching. And so this guy from Park City came down, in fact, it was the building just kitty corner from where we are over here on that other side of this complex. And the guy came down from Park City, we went in a conference room and we sat down and we were going through the process. And the guy started talking about a hot tub. And so remember, under the modifiers here, you're like, who, what, when, where, how. So the agent was like, so where's the hot tub gonna be? Will it be in the backyard? And okay, and who's gonna use the hot tub? My wife and I. How often are you gonna use it? And I don't remember what the guy said, but in talking to him, he was talking about blah, blah, blah. And the agent said, so what does having that hot tub mean to you? And he goes, well, it'd be just a place that my wife and I could spend some quality time together. Now, for me, I would have potentially either been that it's either love or sex, because it could have been either. But the agent goes, okay, so, which one of the things that I always do is summarize it. If they say the word, then I'll say, oh, so what you're looking for in the mountain view is comfort. Yes, that's right. Well, on this one, the guy said, it'd be just a place my wife and I could spend some quality time together. And the agent goes, so it sounds like what you're looking for is a place that you and your wife could have great sex. And he goes, well, yeah, but I wasn't gonna say that, which I personally, even though it's one of the words,
Hey,
I
it's
wouldn't
on
say
there.
it. I would have said, it sounds like what you're looking for in the hot tub is a place you could have some romance. And that's probably
For
how.
context, we don't bang in the garage.
Yeah.
We have a camera there.
I know,
I knew what
was
you
joking.
meant. I knew what you meant.
I'm just joking.
Which is why I said it back to you as quality time,
Yeah.
not, anyway. But so, that's, the other one was a little more kinky than that, but
Yeah.
the other time was, basically I said, I can't even remember how it came up now, but which is surprising, I would think I would remember, but I was asking about it and about the bedroom, what would the layout be? And she was like, well, it would be this and that, and then she's like, and it'd have the handlebars over on this, and I was
It's
like,
like a mirror on the ceiling.
okay,
Okay,
so.
cool.
Anyway, but it doesn't come up often. The other one that doesn't come up very often on that is self-actualization.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
But that one has, self-actualization is more of like, the person who like maybe writes poetry or something, and you're like, oh, well, what do you do with it? Nothing, like I don't do anything with it. I just like, have that time to sit down and just spend time writing poetry, and I don't do anything with it, but it just makes me feel like I'm, like, the way I would say to think of it is like somebody who's fulfilling their life's purpose is kind of, that would be the self-actualization. And I've only had that come up once, but that's what that would be The other one on there, aesthetics, if somebody, like I've had that one come up, somebody was talking about they wanted to buy a house in the avenues and they were like, I want the house that has those doorknobs that have etching on it. If somebody starts talking about etching on a doorknob, it's
Yes,
aesthetics of it is what they're looking for, so.
let's go, okay.
All right.
And what's the difference between,
Go ahead.
like, safety and security?
Yeah, so that, I've actually debated on merging those two together because I feel like typically what safety is about physical safety, security is the peace of mind that safety gives you, and I actually think that's, like a lot of times
Like a nice
where,
neighborhood would be secure.
well, usually where I will hear security, or security will come up is usually with a mom of like, I want a fenced yard so the kids can go in the backyard and play and I don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, okay, that's the kid's physical safety, but it really gives the mom peace of mind. So I really feel like most of the time, security really is peace of mind. Like, it's possible though that somebody is like, I struggle with it, and maybe it's just because of me, like I was saying, but I feel like when somebody says safety, they really mean security, because it's peace of mind. So I feel like every time safety comes up, it's really security, and I keep debating on, should I merge those the way that we have prestige and esteem merged? I keep thinking I should do that with safety too, they're really kind of the same thing, but. Any other ones that you have questions on?
Entertainment and recreation.
So entertainment would be like you having a bunch of people coming over. Recreation would be, like for me, recreation is one of the things for me in buying a house. And it's having a place to like go with when my kids were younger, I wanted to be able to have enough space to go out and play catch, you know.
Yeah, having like a putting green.
Yeah, or a putting green, something like that's more recreation. Entertainment is, we like having people over
Like
and,
hosting.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
To be you want entertaining, not entertained.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back at 1.
You almost have to learn how to like not talk naturally to do this.
That's what I was saying.
So
Is
like unlearn all your natural like
Yep.
intuition to stuff.
Because the way that we've been trained to communicate blocks crystallization from occurring. Yep.
I feel like
Hey,
the,
Russ,
Yeah, go ahead.
can you send me a picture of the board when you're done, before you erase it?
Man, you are demanding. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so Lynn, we'll be back at 12 o'clock your time. 1 o'clock ours.
I was gonna say the book, How to Make Friends and Influence People, can help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that book.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Thank you. It's hard to find the mute button on the phone.
I think I can do it.
You're
I
good.
think it's just
See ya.
have to do it to like get unused to like talking everywhere.
I'm really big on giving options too, especially when I'm talking to my husband,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so do you want this or this? He's like, neither, I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way, but I'm gonna have to unlearn that.
It is, especially I didn't say this earlier, but it is harder for men to do this than women naturally are more nurturing
Yeah,
and so.
oh, absolutely, that's
like,
the truth.
Yeah, and so it is a little, like, men are more.
Their line of questioning is totally gonna come off probably different.
Yeah, well, men